Welcome everybody to MogTalk. If you guys are unfamiliar with MogTalk, it's a show based around the Final Fantasy XIV community discussing everything from Savage Raiding to Chocobo Racing. And today is going to be on the upcoming World Race that's happening in just a few days. Goddamn, that hurts thinking about it now. It's so close. I've been planning this for like a year.
It has been quite a while.
Jeez, dude. It has been so long. But yeah, I'm bringing on a team that you guys have probably seen quite a few times. They've gone by different names with mild changes, I believe. They are now called Team Rat. They will...
Right.
We'll get it. I'll ask you guys in a second what that actually means if you ever figured out a definition for it. But before we go too much into it, let me have them kind of introduce themselves, just say who they are, what role they play in the group, and I think that's a good start. We'll go alphabetically again. Ash?
Hi, I'm Ash. I play Machinist.
Okay. I'm guessing that's a joke.
No.
First I've heard of this. Okay, yeah.
That's the only class I play.
That's true.
Yeah,
Okay.
see?
Okay. Cleese?
Hi, I'm Cleese. I also play Machinist.
Nice. Okay. Reggie?
Hi, I'm Rhaegar. I was born to play Paladin, but I'm forced to play Gunbreaker.
Just play Paladin, dude. What are they gonna do?
Oh.
What are they gonna do if you show up logged in as Paladin in the group and you're like, this is what I'm playing? What are they gonna do? Find another tank?
So
You're right. Yeah.
we don't have them here today, but we do have more ninth men in the squad now for, like, you know, in case people decide they want to play Paladin on the day.
Okay.
Just in case. Yeah.
Alright. Sphere.
Yes, hello, I'm Sphere. I play Caster in the group, and yeah, I've been on here a few times, so
Yeah.
good to be back.
Okay. Shin?
Hello, I'm Shin. I play the healer for the group.
Alright. Send off?
Hello, I'm Kareth Crestfall, the main tank for Kindred.
Mm.
I like scholar horror games, and I love my wife.
Wow, that is the opposite of someone I know that would be called send off. Alright. V? Bye?
Yes, I'm Vi. I play the Flex DPS for the group, which basically just means Red Mage and Melee.
Awesome. Alright, Yoko.
Hi, I'm Yoko. I play Scholar only, and Sage does not exist to me.
Why do you hate Sage, man?
Just a personal thing, you know?
Frosty's being attacked on both Paladin and Sage sides. I
It's
feel
just like these are
horrible.
the two jobs I've been known to play. So, alright. Well, I'm sorry. I guess I just have bad taste. Or I'm just a bad player who plays easy jobs that aren't really good. I don't
It's
know.
okay, Frosty. I also enjoy Sage.
It's so good, man. Sage is amazing. Okay, all right? Let's start the show. Let's fucking start right now. This is the show. What's wrong with Sage?
What's wrong? Okay.
Yeah.
It's not
All
scholar.
right, so it's not Scholar, for
Mhm.
one.
Okay.
Secondly, there's less micromanaging. You got a fairy, you can place her anywhere on the field, and, like, there's just a bunch of micro-optimization that you can do. And also, Sage doesn't have expedience. You know how good expedience is?
I got sprint, dude.
Okay. But do you want 10 seconds of sprint? Or do you want 20 seconds of sprint?
Well, I mean, like, you've cleared the fight most likely by the time you find a good use for expedience, right?
Well, sometimes you just pop it and then you watch people fall off the edge, and it's pretty funny.
Okay. All right. I mean, it is a good ability. It really is. But I don't know. I hate fairy management so much. I can't stand it. I guess that's the difference, right? If you like managing a fairy or moving a fairy around. I mean, you don't have to do it, but like you said, there's some optimization you can do with it, right?
Well, they removed macro embrace, which is pretty good. Because that used to be the breaking point. I don't know. That used to be the breaking point. That would give me, like, RSI or something.
Oh, it definitely gave me RSI, but it was still enjoyable.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just to make it clear for everybody watching the show, there's nothing wrong with Sage. Please don't block it out of Party Finder. Don't, just because these players are saying this, it doesn't mean Sages are bad, alright?
In fact, you should actually block scholars instead.
You should.
I don't know, scholars trolling.
I'm okay with that.
Well,
I'll solo scholar
Think about
player.
it.
Honestly, I wouldn't mind because every single time that I PF Scholar, the chain is never, ever synced. It's the first thing to go out the window. On pull, it'll be a global early, and then at 2 minutes, it's going to be 3 globals late, and then it's never back in line. I actually saw a 1 minute 50 chain yesterday.
Dude, Party Finder, if you're talking about Party Finder in any way, shape, or form, they don't sync anything at the moment. Dude, do you know how many different variations of Pictomancers putting down their grass I've seen in Party Finder? I don't get it. I guess, you know, that kind of optimization just doesn't exist anymore in Party Finder, at least at the moment.
Pictomancer is a very creative job, obviously. They get to put it wherever they feel like.
You just play Viper and Samurai in PF, because if nobody's pressing their party-wide like buffs correctly, then you might as well just play the classes that aren't trolling then. You'll just do more damage that way, just by existing.
Yeah.
This is why I play Machinist.
See?
If you,
Yep.
Trust nobody, only yourself.
Machinist is so good, dude. You literally don't have to think about anything. You just press your buttons, man. Although
Can you feel the screen shakes?
yeah, although that fucking new ability, the 100 ability, it takes up so much of the fucking screen. Like, it's hard to, like, see my position when those big whatever things come out, right?
Oh, we can swear on the stream?
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
I mean, don't, like, go out there and just do, like, full South Park, like, opening
No,
theme song
I
or
know.
anything. Okay, yeah.
I noticed to toe the line,
No,
not jump over it.
no, if it comes out, it comes out, right? It's okay.
Yeah.
It's all part of your passion.
Yeah, yeah. It depends on, like, you know, let's derail for a second, right? There's words that are hateful, and then there's words that are just you know, passionate or emotional, that are just like flavor context to it. It's not bad, right? That's the difference, right? You don't say the horrible things. You just say, if you say stuff like fucking this, fucking that, it's okay. All right? That just means you're adding emphasis. Anyways, this just to let everybody know, we have a world race supporting children's hospitals starting on Tuesday.
It's alright.
I think they understand, though.
Great
I think-
segue.
Yeah.
I think the kids are learning to curse earlier anyways.
Yeah. I'm having to learn how to. Anyways,
It's better than saying skibbity.
I still don't know what that's about. I've literally avoided context completely for that.
Do you want me to go to the
Skibbity
portion of the stream
signal
where I talk about the entirety of Skibbity Toilet lore?
Mm-mm.
Wait, what lore?
No.
There's lore. Didn't you
Yeah,
know
there's
that?
actual lore.
Guys, we're
They're
talking
making
about
a movie too.
You know what the title of this show was? Final Fantasy XIV 7.05 World Race.
Yeah, but this is where I tell you like my 1 hour like thesis on why Skibbity Toilet is going to be the final boss of the raid tier.
I'd uninstall. I would literally just look at it again. In the middle of the stream, we see that pop up. And I'm like, all right, production, time to cut. We're good.
So you see that block the Wicked Thunder is holding? That's gonna evolve into one of the cameramen.
Oh, I have no clue what you're talking about, and I don't care anymore.
The fact that you know side characters in the Skibbity lore is like already
What? No,
concerning
it's like
enough.
the two main factions. It's the Skibbity Toilets and the cameraman.
But this is what I mean. Who
What is
knows
happening?
this? Nobody knows this. Anyway, can we talk about like real things?
Yeah, let's
I'm
talk
gonna
about
lose
some,
my
like-
mind.
Let's talk about jobs some more. All right. Let's I'm assuming you're all like prepared to flex into whatever depending on what the patch notes say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But thinking
That should
about
be a given if you are world racing.
Yeah. But thinking about current state And if there are just like minor changes or no big changes, what's the thought process of what you think you might go in with? Like, what seems like a good mix of jobs right now? If we're talking about tanks, what are we talking about? Like warrior, gunbreaker?
Yeah, pretty much warrior and gunbreaker are like, for I think most groups, that's probably what they're gonna take, just because they do the most damage.
Yeah.
I mean, Dark Knight is if Dark Knight is probably able to compete with warrior in a prog environment, so I wouldn't put that out entirely. But most people like they just look at their typical dummy numbers. If Dark Knight gets a slight buff, I would expect more people to play it.
Okay. Do you guys have any? I mean, we don't know anything, right? But do you have any expectations that maybe DPS is not really going to be a major factor, and that mitigation might be a little bit more important going into this tier?
I mean, damage is like always important, right? Even when tiers are easy or like checks aren't tight, the more damage you have, the more like leeway it gives you to make mistakes. And like you can have a garbage run and 7 people die and then you clear because you brought the right comp. Versus like you do the exact same thing with the comp that's made to recover and then you enrage. So like there are always benefits to playing the highest damage thing. It's just like depends on the way the fight's designed, depends on exactly how tight the tuning is, depends on how sloppy you play. All of those things kind of matter. So it's really hard to say.
I mean, that would also depend a lot if you're going in that kind of perspective too. Which jobs can get their damage going again pretty quick, right? Versus jobs that might be a little bit harder after being rezzed.
Yeah, there's also like a thing that I kind of have talked about for a really long time is that enrages in prog aren't about like which job does the most damage. It's which job does enough damage the fastest. So like people talk about summoner doing garbage damage, but it's gonna do like its ceiling of garbage damage on the first pull because it's like it's so simple. Whereas more difficult jobs, it's gonna take you longer to get to that point.
Right. Okay. Speaking of casters, what are you guys feeling caster wise right now?
I reckon we just run 4 black mages, to be honest.
I mean,
yeah.
Would it be a bad idea? Are you
That's cheating?
Sphere, are you? This is a really good question. Are you content with black mage right now?
Like, I think it plays like absolute mud and feels really bad, and so I'm content not playing it. Even if it gets like mega buffed, I'm still probably not going to play it because it just doesn't feel very good right now. And for it to get buffed to the point where I actively have to think like this is a choice I need to make, it needs to be so absurdly strong that like it's a guarantee that I'm playing it. So I don't even need to think about it. Like the decision will be made for me if I need to play that job in prog.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Pictomancer.
I mean, there's 3 other casters, right? And all of them are currently like very good at what they do. So it's really healthy outside of black mage being like that.
Okay. Are you at least happy with Pictomancer though?
Oh, it's incredibly fun. It's such a good change from like every other caster in their current state. Yeah, I've got lots of thoughts on the job that I could spend forever talking about, but it just doesn't feel like it was made by the same people who made all the other changes to the jobs this expansion, right? Like it's just different. It's really involving. It's cool. It's fun.
I mean, it emphasized the things that make Final Fantasy XIV rating kind of fun, right? The kind of planning and flexibility and things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And it's a caster that plays the game of Final Fantasy, which in like the big damage non-res caster hasn't ever existed before because Black Mage just doesn't do that. So I feel like I'm actually playing with my team now as opposed to just ignoring them and doing my own thing.
Okay. Like a machinist, right?
Well, Machinist even does that, right? They play with the team because they're all about the burst and playing around everybody else's buffs and stuff, but like Black Mage never was. They quite often would completely disregard buffs because it would be the best thing for them to do, which like it couldn't be that way, but it just was.
Okay.
So yes, absolutely no reservations about not playing Black Mage right now, to answer the question.
All right. Well, unless if they change something within the patch notes, right?
Yes, but I'm not expecting major like playstyle changes, I guess.
Okay. Are you guys gonna do 2 melee, or are you debating that depending on again the comp and everything out, or the notes that they put out on Monday?
It's definitely going to finish with 2 melees, but I probably won't start that way.
Oh, you guys are gonna start mostly with like res mindset.
Absolutely.
Red Mage Summoner.
Well, yeah, I
Not
you
sure
know,
about that.
the red mage has to get all the reses, and if he dies, then the summoner's got to res him. So like, why not, right?
Oh, because your healers aren't
is.
gonna do any resing.
Exactly.
Well, your healers are probably going to die at some point as well. I mean, it's inevitable to happen that everyone is going to make mistakes. So, I mean, the first fight's all about, especially the first 2 are all about just doing the mechanics
Mm-hmm.
and getting the info, and then next pool just don't die
Right.
as much as you can. It's like,
Well, don't catastrophically fail.
yeah, like you'll still kill the fight with like a couple deaths. Most likely, you can limp to the end. But for
What he
those,
means
it's
is,
mainly
like, don't do the mechanics, just like get through the mechanic without wiping.
to some degree that can be true.
Okay.
I mean,
Everyone dies.
if you think
That's fine.
even back to like the first tier of last expansion, the Eric fight, I'm pretty sure we tank LB the one mechanic that was actually like a mechanic in that fight, right?
Dude, we couldn't figure it out.
Which
Yeah.
one?
And that's
The fire and
difference?
ice thing.
yeah.
Yeah,
He won?
yeah, we
and
always had a
They always had a damage down.
no, we always had a what is it? A culture of trying to do the mechanic correctly instead of just not realizing, oh, if the tanks were to just stand still, you'll be fine.
Hmm.
And you'll just get a damage down, but everybody lives.
Right. Hmm.
And then that became the PF strat.
The most base PF strat, might I add.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
I say that completely unironically.
well, here's the thing. Like when you're talking about PF, it's literally how do you like think the least amount, right? How do you eliminate things that make people mess up? Because you just can't guarantee who's going to be in a group with you, so you need to do a strategy that will satisfy the least amount of brain cells. So yeah. Okay.
Well,
One
also
melee. Go ahead.
Also in the like multiple like taking multiple razors, that does have some risk to it. Just because at the moment, like the difference between the other casters and Picto is like 10%,
Hmm.
which is actually extremely messed up when you think about it. Like that's really messed up because, well, yeah, Picto is highly represented and all the good players are going to play it, so it's going to look like that.
Mhm.
But with a spread that wide, just means like how does SE ever make a DPS check and expect you to take those classes? Because you could just take the Picto and you instantly win.
I mean,
Like you can't tune around that.
I don't know. I'm kind of okay with it. You know, I'm literally okay with it because there's if they make it to where Pictomancer is more balanced for good players, right? The high end players, then it will be absolutely garbage with more casual mid core players.
Yeah, but it would become an auto lock if it was needed in order to beat like a check or something.
Yeah.
Like you'd have to take it. It would be a requirement. Otherwise, you're just not making a check at that point. Because like I said, 10% is huge. That is a massive.
Well, they
like,
would just need
difference.
to make the check accessible to any comp, right? Make it accessible to the lowest DPS comp, but if you have a higher DPS comp, you get a little bit more chance for DPS mistakes and stuff like that, and just messing up your rotation. But I don't know, like, if they change the way that Picto's designed to fit, resers and make resers a little bit happier, to Picto's out the window. I mean, it's like either or. Either you don't take Picto ever, or you do take Picto, right? That's just the position it's in.
Yeah, it's a tough one to balance because Well, it's impossible to balance, I guess, is the point where that Sindel was making.
Yeah.
The fight either needs to be a joke in the check, or it needs to be really hard so that you're trolling if you're not bringing Picto. It just makes it like kind of binary the way that it exists, and like it feels like your choice is made for you as opposed to.
But that's
everything
only
else.
representative of like World Race and Week 1 players, right?
No,
Not
I'd say-
necessarily, because I would say that for like people who aren't, incredibly good at the game, Picto isn't super difficult, right? Like you can still get a significantly large amount more damage on Picto than you will on Summoner or Red Mage, even if you're not the greatest at it.
Mm-hmm.
And that effect is true at, all percentiles, no matter how good or bad you are at those ones. So the difference is still definitely there. I would actually say that particularly for the first couple of fights, it's even more casual or like less hardcore oriented where the difference will be.
Mm-hmm.
Because good players that have a good run with any comp are going to smoke the check. Bad players or people who aren't, super optimized, they're not going to be playing clean. They're going to be having lots of rotational errors for no reason, and the check will be tight. And the only way they're making that up at that point is the comp choice, where it feels bad.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of feel like, to be honest with you, we're sitting at this position to where I'm okay with a couple of jobs just being locked out, and just not completely locked out, but just like underpowered and not the best pick. Like, obviously don't take this job. Obviously don't take this job. Take these over others. And I know that's one of those controversial things about people wanting to like be included in a lot of parties and be upset when that doesn't happen and they're not like their job isn't as powerful as some of the other jobs. But that stuff just has to rotate out, because balancing 21 jobs is not something I think Square Enix needs to completely waste all their resources on.
The big secret is that the jobs are actually very well balanced, and it doesn't actually matter what you're playing past week 1.
I mean, that's true.
So
yeah. I mean,
when people talk about comp stuff, it's usually only at like either high-end progression or high-end speed killing.
because gear does make a huge
is
difference.
incredibly generous at just making sure you can play whatever job you want.
Yeah.
Like if it were up to me, like each fight would have completely different like best jobs that would all shine at their niche and suck at everything else. But
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like interesting utility that makes like a job better in a certain fight would be nice.
Yeah.
No, that's expecting too much.
oh, for sure. But I can dream. I can hope. I still have the whimsy of a child within me.
Okay.
World First is gonna have a paladin in it. Quote this.
I hope so. I hope so, dude. When you guys see Echo clear on stream,
Be
Man, I
very
hope-
happy
I-
cheering
I-
them on their stream first, as we've
Yeah.
cleared like 2 hours ago.
Yeah, I hope we can actually watch them clear, because that means we cleared already.
okay. I mean, hold up. If they clear on stream, though, are you guys, your night players, not going to be like, "Hey, look, this is what they did. Let's do this"? Or you
Oh,
guys-
I mean,
I would be pretty annoyed if they did
Nope.
that.
if they clear, we already lost. Who cares?
No,
I
if
will
someone
also
if
s-
we're
But
progging and someone's coming in and be like, "Oh, somebody already cleared," I'd be like, "Bro, what the fuck?"
Yeah, that kind of kills the mood.
The only times that we've ever been behind in a race and using other strats has come up, it's been real bad. Like it makes us worse because we're like either the strats are bad, they don't suit us, we don't understand completely what's going on, because if you're stealing stuff from a stream, it's going to be
Mhm.
like disjointed. And it's happened a couple times, and both times it actually was worse than if we just stopped and did it ourselves, like significantly worse.
Okay.
So even if like that sort of thing happens, I think we just wouldn't do anything.
you have to
about
be
it.
real delicate with these guys and just give them the information you get from streams instead of just the strat, so that they think they came up with it on their own.
Mm,
Hey, do
okay.
I need to bring up what was told to us in fucking the harvest at the end of 7? Oh my god, that made no sense at all.
What?
Let's not
Oh,
talk
yeah.
about Abyssos, right? Abyssos was a different time.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. How many? Since we're on this topic, we completely veered off jobs. We can go back to it in a second. But I am actually not sure how many of the usual suspect of offline streams are out there right now. I don't know if Aether Group 3 is going. Right. I don't. Are they still going?
I don't want to be. I don't want to be the guy who
outs
outs them, right?
Okay.
So they
all right,
might
tell me a
going.
general gist of how many offline streams are out there that you know of that are seriously
relevant ones. Probably like 3, maybe.
3.
Wow.
Irrelevant.
Okay.
All right, now you
Wow.
gotta
What
name
does
who's
that
the
mean?
relevant ones. You gotta name it out now.
You gotta name them?
Are we relevant?
No, of course not.
We haven't
It's
been
unnamed.
relevant in ages. I hate to tell you this, if you're not first or at least really close to first, you're not relevant. No one knows who you are and nobody cares.
The only relevant team is the Japanese supergroup that never actually comes up, but everyone always talks about.
I mean, it comes up when they clear it first.
They absolutely have.
Yeah. Oh, don't bring up top memories.
Since
dude.
when?
All right.
I don't know what you're talking about. There are no Japanese world progression rating except for the supergroup.
I mean, there's some pretty I'm gonna be honest.
They are
with you.
all a monolith. All Japanese people are just.
Please have some
about
opinions about Japanese gamers.
Oh, what does that mean?
What?
You can say it. Don't worry. You can say it.
Hey, I have no clue where this conversation's going. But I feel like it's a breaks that I need to hit right now. But I will say, Lucrezia is still out there. They're streaming. And they did really good in a lot of stuff. I haven't talked to them recently, so I don't know what the progression looks like on them. But they beat you guys in Criterion.
That's true.
Yep. I had me for Criterion instead of the people who I wanted them to take because they'd be better than me.
Oh, okay.
That would have made the difference.
True.
Guarantee it.
I mean, and that was the last race.
Was it?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It was.
It was the very last race, was the Criterion race. Well, I mean, unless you guys are counting like the extremes, which I don't even know what happened with the extremes.
Dude, I don't know who fucking was first at the extremes. It's probably like
That doesn't count.
I actually have zero idea.
That is determined by whose players disconnected the least over the previous 8 out or 12 hours of leveling.
We got the longest
Just-
queues.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
Dawn
you guys-
Trail expansion launch was suffering.
All people compare for EXs is though sometimes people hit me up in DMs and they'll be like, how much time did you spend per fight? So instead of people comparing when they killed it, they talk about how long it took them to clear.
I mean, how long did it take you guys to clear?
EX1 was 61 minutes, I believe, and EX2 was 59 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a lockout each.
Did you guys
And
do
then
those numbers are not sorry. Even then, those numbers aren't super comparable, right? Because groups going in day 3, even though they're blind, have gear and all that sort of stuff. So it's just very different.
Well, you only count the
Pretty
people
sure
who
we
did
went
it
in
per
with
se.
pre-expansion gear and the leveling gear that we
Yeah, we had
scooped
the
up.
artifact. Yeah.
Artifact. Yeah, I was full 660, right? So yeah, it's just they're different environments. So you can't really compare any of that, other than if they streamed it, look at it, and be like, what did they do well? And that's kind of it, right?
I mean, did you guys do Endwalker's Extremes together as well?
I don't think this group was together, but
We've done Golbez and
the later ones, I guess. Yeah.
Ruby Conte as well.
How did these two extremes compare to those in learning them and kind of deciphering the mechanics and everything else?
These were a lot easier.
You think so?
I think these were definitely a lot more interesting, but difficulty-wise, I'd put them at about the same, maybe a little easier.
Ruby Conte kind of just had one mechanic, right? The spinny lines and stuff.
Ruby Conte was too hard. Somebody else in the group solved it all for me. And I followed.
I think the difference with previous expansion extremes as well is that you go in there with the raid tiers best, right? Because they come out afterwards. And so like, you absolutely smoke the check. And that isn't what happens with expansion launch ones, because you're going in there with like absolute ratty gear and it's not good, but
Yeah.
You still smoke the check anyways.
They're a little like the thing that's a bit different is I would say these fights seem, at least when we were progging them, they did seem a lot more involved and a lot more interesting. Like I like the pacing of it. They were fun. They weren't as immediately predictable as like all the way back to Rubicante and all that. Like Rubicante and that felt that was like a puzzle fight in some ways. Like you just had to see somebody who could do the circle stuff, and you had to see some of the stuff with the arrows like once or twice, and you could just do it from there. And the boss died. Golbez usually came down to that, either the meteors falling from the sky really quickly, that one, if people remember what that is, and the wind mechanic.
Right.
That's all that came down to. And then like Zodiac was, Zodiac was coming down to our groups decoding.
Do you mean Zodiac or do you mean the last?
Not
Zodiac.
Zeromus, sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
Zeromus kind of came down what makes that fight feel different, or in some ways that whole fight is basically the meteor section.
Yeah.
For a lot of world prog groups, they're getting there with all 8 people alive, and they're often going to try and keep all 8 people alive. And that is actually going to be your downfall, because that is easier with dead bodies.
Yeah. Zeromus is a one-shottable fight.
Yeah, if you can make it past that and like spend time figuring out how that works, the moment we made it past that mechanic, we killed the boss like in that same pool.
Okay.
But it took us actually a while to get past the meteors. Like it was kind of a mess.
Well, the main reason I'm asking that too is just to get a comparison with this expansion's philosophy or theory on how they develop fights, right? And if we think that fights are going to be interesting but easy, or if they're going to be maybe possibly more difficult than previous expansions' first tiers.
It's hard to say. I'm expecting the fights to be like a bit more involved than like typical first tiers of an expansion. I don't know how that'll translate to execution difficulty or even figuring it out, but they definitely I have a feeling they're going to be a lot more involved.
I mean, it seems like. Go ahead, Sidnoff. Go ahead.
Yeah, I will say that at least right now, with both extreme fights and the normal modes, the vibe I'm getting is that right now I feel like I'm playing a game and not solving a puzzle.
Okay.
So personally, for me, I like it a lot more. At least the battle content, and I mean, it feels easier because I don't have to use my brain in any of the content so far. I mean,
you do sort of, right?
Not.
I mean,
Enough just doesn't have to rotate apples in his head. So
yeah, I don't have to do like Rubicante puzzles where it's like rotating the floor and trying to figure out how everything's lining up.
They call it like brain training mechanics, I think.
Yeah, I think Yoshi P actually called it that at one point in some of his interviews. But like the thing I really hated about those types of things in Endwalker, like P12S, P2 with the shapes had this, is that conceptually those mechanics are very simple, and you can explain them to most players. Like sit down and they'll be able to understand it. But then you do it, and it will sometimes feel a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
The problem with that is that if you're a player who's not good at that type of stuff, you feel really bad when you fail those mechanics. Like, you feel stupid. Because you can tell that the game's, like, kind of, in a way, checking your mind. It's like you're doing, like, an IQ test, and the game just said, nah, you're dumb. And everybody knows it. Because they can tell when you're the one who wiped the group.
I feel like you're having some self-confidence issues there.
No, like go ask more casual players this too about how they feel about some of those mechanics when they wipe them. They like nobody. I've never heard more people feel like bad about some of those mechanics. And at least with the little bit that we've seen so far from this expansion, it doesn't seem like they're doing as much of that. Now, EX2 has a little bit of that at the start.
Yeah, well, EX2
with
has
the wind
a decent amount, I think, of that, doesn't it? I mean, finding out the fire, and you have to figure out what the right answer is, the fire or the wind, and then you have to figure out what block is safe, right? Afterwards, which blocks are safe. And that, I mean, that's a little bit of a thing you have to work out on your own in your head, or just follow everybody.
Sindel just gets hit.
I followed everybody day one. I was like sick with COVID day one, and I just said, I'm not even doing it. I just followed.
Yeah.
Put up MIT before it, and nobody will die, even if they're DPS.
I think the difference is that in last expansion, that swords mechanic would have been like harder and the only mechanic in the fight. Whereas
And it
in
would
this
have
case,
instantly
it
killed
feels
you.
like, yeah. Whereas in this case, it's like there's more going on, but each of those pieces seems more evenly distributed in the difficulty, which makes a better fight. But it's you can't really say it's easier or harder. I think it's different.
Okay.
Well, this is also the beginning of the expansion. They're not going to be punishing as much. That is a big thing. Right now, we can kind of just go in with whatever, and you can take players who aren't very good. You can even go into pugs and have like 8+ deaths, and you'll still clear.
I mean, I've hit Enrage a lot in clear parties for PF.
Oh, so have I. But that's the thing. You're at least still hitting Enrage. They're not full body. They're not full wiping you right now.
There's one in EX2 that has a full body wipe, which is if you keep the line mechanic or whatever the conga line is, and if you get 2 overlapping, right, that'll just blow everybody up.
Yeah, that's a thing that
that's
you have
the
to deal
only
with,
one I think though.
That shouldn't happen. Ideally,
it shouldn't. Right? Yeah, you're not.
I think
wrong.
it happens when there's when people are panicking over damage, and you can often solve that by just telling the Fizz range to float. Tell both melee and the Fizz range to float, and you will have always a lot of people in a stack. You'll have at least 5 people in every stack, and it just solves everything.
Do you think there's a place for? Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say in PF, people often just want to default to their comfy markers instead of understanding how the mechanic works and adjusting.
Right. Well, I mean, do you guys feel like there's a place in raiding with hard body checks like that? Things like Caloric 2 and Classical from P12S?
100%. I think they need to exist.
If
especially
we
with
still
the way
have
that
reses the way they are right now, you need those mechanics. If not, you'll be able to just skip through them.
Because, I mean, literally, P12S is the only one that has a hard body check, right? All the rest of the fights, they have body checks, but they're recoverable for most of them. Or there's ways to recover most of them.
Recoverable, but they kill people.
They do kill people, that's true.
They cascade out of control.
If you're a bad healer, yeah.
I think PAS has hard body checks too.
Oh, I mean, the final turns, I think, P12S does, P8S. I don't know if P4S. Yeah, I think P4S does, doesn't it?
Maybe
it does it in the form of the tower is going to go off.
Yeah.
Just have a bunch of towers.
Kabooms.
Yeah. Also, the titters, if someone blows up, it's a chain reaction, right?
Yeah.
In second phase.
I mean, it's one of those things that feels bad to just a casual player or someone who's just kind of progging in Party Finder or something else, because it's someone else messing up and prog being prevented out of your control because of other players.
I actually think it's the opposite. I think it's that when they make a mistake, it can't be covered for and it feels worse. In situations where you don't immediately explode when one person dies, if you fuck up and people raise you and you carry on, you'll learn, everybody will keep going. You're not going to feel like you ruined the experience for everyone else. But if you obviously, trip the wire and everybody dies, then you're the one they're all looking at. So I think that's what contributes even more largely to that than feeling bad. I mean,
that feels bad too. But both situations feel bad. Being the person who's dying because someone else messed up and being the person who messes up for everyone else. It causes these stress factors, and people stop raiding because of it. But I mean, that's a whole different conversation of the mentality of raiding in MMOs and interacting with other players and social.
You're one of the things you said was that it's out of your control. The thing is that that's if you're pugging. Yeah. And at least in my eyes, MMOs are team games. like especially for us when we're doing World Prog, and pugging is like you're basically just you're rolling dice at that point. Beyond yourself, you're rolling dice. You have no control over everything. If you're in a static and you're actually putting in that effort to keep and maintain one, then you have some control. You have control over roster. You could replace people if you need to. But before that, you have the control to, hey, people made a mistake. Let's sit down and let's talk about it. Like let's go over the mechanic, look at footage, do anything that needs to be done, and help people learn stuff faster.
Well, I mean, like, that literally goes into the conversation of who... I mean, this is why it's relevant to the World Race, is because of how Square Enix is developing fights. If they're developing it for people who are in Party Finder, or they're developing it for people who are in 8-player teams, right? Who are they making the content for? And that's what is a huge conversation around Ultimate as well, and turns into this whole conversation about AM and all this other stuff, right? But, like, with... Square Enix developing fights, if they develop it towards Party Finder, where they're making it to where, I guess, users or I say users. I've been doing a lot of development recently. Players mess up mechanics, and then that feels bad in a Party Finder environment. But if they don't put that in, then it feels bad in a team environment because it becomes too easy, right? And you don't feel like you're overcoming challenges as a team together and conquering that mechanic, which is a better feeling. Which I think that's what you guys were talking about with P12S and hard body checks like that. You're overcoming that together. But in Party Finder, you have this solo mentality, which maybe most people who play this game are progging with that solo mentality. Like, I think if we had to compare how many people are rating in Party Finder versus how many people are rating in a static, I am really curious what those statistics would be. I don't know if you guys have any insight into that, but...
Well,
I don't have any data on me, unfortunately.
Yoshi P has said before that when they design like Savage, this was a long time ago though.
Mm-hmm.
It's done without like voice comms. So while we have that when we're progging and everything, when you think about that, it's like, okay, this mechanic can then probably be solved through some kind of system that could probably be done by PF, and that one way leads into this mentality that I have, at least for Savage, where if we come up with a strategy and it is way too convoluted or too hard that it seems very difficult to us, it's probably wrong. Because if we're going to struggle to do it, that means 8 random people out there are going to struggle to do it.
But it's also week
and
one.
That's a problem.
Day one, all right?
I mean, yeah,
it's a little different. Like, you can usually tell if a strategy is just like overly complicated versus like something that might just like cost you damage. Like,
yeah,
like if, for example, in a certain fight, you decided to just have 8 separate patterns for a certain boss dashing around instead of just like going for the easy one.
Oh no,
we don't speak of that.
Sometimes that's like part of the fun, right? Is figuring out not only like the intended thing, but the unintended thing as well. And then deciding and making like a conscious decision. Do we stick with the thing that we know is a little bit unintended, but can get us through this? And it's generally like it's a judgment call, case by case. There's no like hard and fast rules you can apply to it. Sometimes you'll have something that is absolutely cursed, but just works. And if it's in an early fight, especially, you'll just get through it and you'll like forget that strat ever happened, and then copy whatever happened on streams next time you reclear. And everything's fine.
I mean, like, that really depends on how they handle... I mean, they could do some interesting stuff with that, too, to where if you do a jank strategy with over-mitigating, then the next one that comes up that you have to mitigate for, you don't have mitigations for it, because you used it for a jank strat.
Usually it's not a mitigation thing, it's more of, like if I were to give an example that comes to mind, it's like E12... Like E12, our strat was literally just like running into the snapshot and pointing the tigers away, versus like an actual like
like messing with like the server ticks and stuff.
I mean, 14 is 14.
Right.
A more recent one would kind of be Caloric, which I think was actually a great mechanic, just because of the fact that at least a lot of Endwalker had you had fights that generally you kind of had one strategy. I mean, there could be some very slight modifications to it, but for the most part, you had one strategy for so many different things. Caloric, if you looked at like a lot of the top groups that were streaming or like progging at the time, which you probably did, Frosty.
Yeah.
I mean, you did for sure.
I barely remember half of it because I'm managing a whole production.
Yeah.
What's going on? But yeah.
But if you do remember a lot of those groups had different strategies early on until things became more public. And that is one of those things where you're like coming up with it yourself. And our strategy that we came up with, it was janky and it had some very glaring flaws, but it did work.
What did you? So you guys didn't use one of the two strategies that solidified at the end, right? Did you guys use a different strategy for it?
For the first Caloric, I think we did.
Yeah, our Caloric was very different.
Yeah, I mean that's the one that changes. Caloric 1 is the one that people do. Like if you went to EU, they were doing the hexagon strat. If you were doing it on NA, they were doing the pan strat. That's what it kind of veered into.
We had this strategy where we kind of like we made a box in a way. It's a little similar to a modified version of Neverlands, but the difference is that we didn't use the party list. We were all spread out slightly around the middle and just kind of went to our spots from there based off visual. And the issue with that is that meant the distance to any point you may go to could be variable. So under really bad situations, you would then have to be like, oh, I got to go diagonal, and then I can't go to our assigned spot where we are supposed to end because that would be too far. I have to eyeball it with some random spot that I just have to know. And things like that could happen. And it's really janky, but the same people ended up playing that adjust throughout a lot of prog, and they got to know that very well, and then we got through it. But every so often that didn't happen, and then someone new got it, and you would wipe. And it's like, well, we're pretty far into the fight. This could be changed, but we're near the end.
Okay.
So that's like something that I really like. I hope this tier has more mechanics like that, and I think SE even said they're might do some more like that.
I think ideally what we will see is strategies that will have a variety of art mechanics that will have a variety of ways to solve them, right? But you're going to run into some mechanics being basically broken by certain strategies. I think that's what I'm really afraid of, is that they're going to create a mechanic set and then someone's going to find the dumbest way to solve it. And it's going to happen way more often than what we're used to. And then it takes a lot of the fun out of the fight. Like, I don't even know... Like, X2... Is there a good example for X2 solving how everybody solved it with the conga line? Was that really the intended way? Or was there, like, another way you think that people were supposed to solve that?
What about before that, where you stand in the death wall to...
Oh, yeah, standing in the death wall.
Yeah.
That was the other one, right? Which is horrible.
From a really selfish perspective, none of that generally matters to us, because if we don't think of it, generally the other top teams aren't going to think of like this really wacky, super unintended thing, like literally standing in the death wall, right? Like that to me is insane, and I don't think many other like sane people thought of that.
Well, I mean, like, here's the thing:
it doesn't feel like
it's not a death wall, though, right? And so, like, was that really not intentional? It's not a death wall. So I don't know.
It's clearly not intended, right? But like in like a world prog environment, those sorts of things, like somebody could be cheesing this mechanic, it has never crossed my head. It's not something that I'm ever worried about. Now after prog, that's a thing for sure, and like how fun your farm is going to be. But I don't know. I don't think it's a huge deal overall. I think it's funny most of the time. Like what's an example? Even in Uwu, right? The late awakened Garuda was completely unintended and like massively circumvented all the difficulty in the first phase. And they just left it in, right? Because they're like, oh, we didn't think of that. Have it, I guess.
Yeah, that actually I think was really interesting that they decided to change and make it so that you can't do the wall anymore, because SE doesn't change their mechanics.
Yeah, and
like they said in an interview that they're like, oh, we don't do this. And Yoshi P brings up ADS in Terran 2 as an example. And this was a couple years ago when he like gave that interview. But they don't change their mechanics they're just like, oh, we left that we're gonna keep it in there, that's our fault. But for this fight, they're just like, nope, we're changing it.
Well, I mean, like, I actually thinking about this too. Do you think that M3 is going to have similar situations where you actually run into the fire to handle certain mechanics?
That fire does
No, that fire is a lot.
I feel like in Savage, that fire is just gonna truck you like in a tick or two. So
okay.
Like you can already go into the fire to avoid like the lariat combo because it stops at the fire. But
does it?
Yes, one of them does.
One of them. Wait, hold up. Only one of them does?
Yeah, when the boss goes to the wall, it goes to the wall. When he runs back to like,
yeah, it's the animation, not the actual hitbox.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the ability actually hits the entire arena. Like I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't.
But I mean, yeah, we'll check later.
You're talking about like the side swipe, not like when he
the side
finishes
swipe.
the dash.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, well,
Oh.
something today.
Pretty sure.
One thing about this though is like I would way rather that they keep creating like actually creative mechanics and then sometimes they get broken than just putting out things that have one solution and they're very like linear in the way that you solve them and there is a right and wrong way and that's it. Because it's just more fun that way.
Yeah.
For prog groups, for farm groups, like I just think the whole process is just a lot more enjoyable in general. So I don't mind the odd broken mechanic because it means that I'm having fun with everything else in the fight.
I agree. Let stuff break, dude. I mean, people might get upset here and there, but I feel like it creates a better experience, especially if they're... I mean, that's the philosophy they have already stated. They already said this is how they want to do it, right? And the question was if they were going to do that a lot starting the expansion or do it later in the expansion. And I think they've kind of like went back and forth a little bit about how they were going to do that kind of thought process going forward in 7.1 and on, and just lightly tap into that for this first Savage tier. But seeing those extremes and kind of how they did some of the dungeons and everything else, I feel like they're going a little bit more heavy-handed in trying out the new ways of doing mechanics. It feels weird, you know, because this is like a defining tier. This is going to give us a lot of insight about what the rest of the raid series in this expansion is going to look like, right?
Maybe.
Yeah, because Esfidelis was actually quite different to the two that followed it, right? So I'm not sure if I completely believe that like this is going to be the signs of things to come, but it may. You know, things could end up being pretty similar all the way through, but recently they've been quite different as we go through.
Okay. Dude, I have no clue what's gonna happen. I'm prepared for it to take like 2 to 3 days to clear. Unlikely, but man,
I'll be extremely surprised if it doesn't.
There hasn't been a 2-day tier since Heaven's Sword.
What? Oh, you mean first tier?
First tier,
yeah.
There are very strong teams still, so I think I'd be very surprised if that fight was alive by the end of day one. Like, if people have to sleep before clearing that fight,
I mean, that's such a thing, dude.
Surprised.
I feel like people just chug caffeine at that point.
Well, we'll see. I mean, we haven't had to think about that for quite a while.
Generally, you'll know by the third fight. Generally.
I think for most first tiers, it's like common thought that, you know, if you sleep, you lose. So,
all right, here's the thing. All right, what you guys need to do is it's just going to be really difficult. And then Echo's going to say, hey, Neverland, it's been 16 hours. You guys got to go to sleep. All right, we got to go to sleep. We got to do it. And as soon as they fall asleep, chug like 10 things of caffeine and just cram it out and just beat it within the next 8 hours. If you don't beat it within the next 8 hours...
If Echo falls asleep, then, you know...
If they go to sleep...
I'd be very surprised.
Yeah, if they went to sleep at 16 hours... that would actually, like, they would have to be so confident if that is a multi-day tier. Those players would not sleep after 16 hours.
There's like no shot, yeah.
Okay.
If it was killable, yeah, there's no way.
I mean,
what if you don't get to the fourth turn until 16 hours?
Oh, I mean, if we don't get to the fourth turn at 16 hours, it's either like two things. One of them, holy fuck, we're bad, or two of them, holy fuck, they overtuned the tier.
Yeah.
I feel like if we don't make it there in 16 hours and it's not due to a disconnect, we're probably killing each other at that point and want to like murder each other. The vibe cannot be good at that point.
It'll be another Heaven's Ward.
I mean, everybody would be going through the same experience, right?
Have you noticed that Brute Bomb or whatever his name is?
Yeah.
His splash animation is the same as Living Liquid. So maybe that's a sign that he's going to be the next goated third rate tier.
A3S is back.
I mean,
No, it's too
could
red.
you imagine little fucking fire slimes coming out of them that you have to dodge and people have to be in quadrants or whatever? And like bust them. Yeah, that'd be so great. And then you have the hands.
I really hope A15 has a tornado phase now.
I think that fight, definitely feels like the most neutered of the normals, in my opinion.
Yeah. The third one right now, they have to have some crazy stuff going on with.
I feel like it's gonna be like, it's gonna have a lot of stuff going on in Savage.
Yeah. It is too boring of a fight in comparison to the other fights right now. Speaking of which, are there any of the 4 fights that you're really excited to see what they do with it?
Honeybee, lovely.
Honeybee, of course, it's Honeybee, right?
Honestly, I'm the most excited for the first fight. Maybe because that's the one I've been theory crafting the most, but it looks like it'll be really fun.
The tile gimmick, dude, you could do pretty much anything to make that like interesting puzzle mechanic, right? You can just make different mechanics interact with breaking puzzle or breaking the platforms. You can give different patterns for which ones will need to be broken each time you do a pull, right? There's a lot that they can really do with it. I mean, the last time that we've seen that though was also on like a kind of first fight of a tier, although it was on the last tier, wasn't it? Wasn't that
Cloud9's? Cloud of Darkness.
Yeah.
I want PvP back.
I mean, it's there. Do you know how many times I try to fall into other people on those platforms right now? Like, I'm just begging to be picked. It's the same thing with, like, EX2, is where you just try to, like, aim the person off the side of the arena when knocking them over to the other side. Like, see, here's the thing. These are, like, wonderful mechanics for just groups of friends who just like to fuck around and have fun, because it adds a little bit more spice to just raid night. It's not as boring, right? To add these little fun PvP elements. You don't get away with it in Party Finder, but you can get away with it in your own groups, right?
Sounds like Party Finder just doesn't know how to have fun.
No, dude, Party Finder right now, in comparison to what it was over the last year or so, right? No one talks, no one says hi, no one does anything. It's completely dead silent for most of the people that I've interacted with. Every once in a while you get some people who talk, but people just don't like interacting in Party Finder at all right now. So
maybe your groups, the ones I joined, do.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like it's different
The
between...
problem is though that like if you talk in party chat in Final Fantasy XIV, there is a non-zero chance that you will get banned for absolutely no reason. So nobody wants to risk that before prod.
Look, you could do like a wave or a hi or something. You know?
Meowdy.
Oh, for sure, but the risk is there.
Okay. Fair.
I mean, I always join the difference for me probably is that I don't join foreign groups. I just do clear for ones.
Yeah. And
people are more willing to talk in those.
Even in those, dude, I have issues. Farm 100% they don't talk. It is crickets, man. And when people mess up, still crickets. You know, I don't know what it is. Just the social aspect of this game is not thriving at the moment.
Well, they don't give you a reason
club.
Dude, I don't. Man. That's not MMOing for me. I'm an old man, dude.
People RP'd back in the day.
I mean, yeah, sure. Goldshire had its own thing, all right, but like, not something that I ever played MMOs for. And I think it, like Final Fantasy XIV, it thrives. Although I heard the nightclub scene is actually kind of like dying a little bit, but I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, it could be just because
someone's gonna clip that, make a YouTube video that's set right there. You're set for content for the next 6 months. Just on that statement alone.
That statement saying it's dying? I mean, I don't know if it's dying or not.
DJ reacts to.
I just heard that it's sort of dying a little bit, but maybe I'm
a lot
wrong.
of that stuff for many people depends on, you know, mods and things like that, and they weren't working at the start of the expansion. Plus, we have stuff to do
I mean, that's
in-game
true.
now. You can actually play the game.
Yeah. People are busy kind of catching up and everything, and they'll probably pick back up once things slow down. Actually, you know what? There could be a correlation to PvE content being available in this game versus how active nightclubs are. Right?
I mean, I assure you there is.
Yeah.
If
Depends.
fights are fun and accessible, like people want to do them, right? And
So
these ones very much are.
right now, Square Enix is killing the nightclub scene. It's their fault.
I mean, they're going to
I'm sure,
with.
I'm sure there's plenty of people that don't interact with PvE content at all and only RP
sure.
and within clubs. So.
Oh, you've heard, have you?
What?
He was there. He saw it.
What are you guys talking about?
Yeah.
The nightclub scene.
Oh,
That's right.
oh.
Well, cross data centers like closed down at the moment, so you're not going to be able
that's
to
also
just
the
jump
other
to
thing,
wherever
right?
you want.
You can't move around a lot, and I don't. Maybe they'll open that up on the next minor patch or something. I don't know.
If they follow their rules of what they said, they're going to open it up when Savage drops. However, I think that would be silly, and they should keep it the way it is for just a bit longer.
It would be a. It's kind of like a take bad and good from each situation, right? If they do open it back up, Aether becomes the PF place, right? And becomes the active place, or Light, or whichever was the rating data center before, and everybody just kind of funnels into one data center again.
Yeah, and that's
that's a lot of server stress on particular servers and making a lot of wasted resources on other servers. And so it's probably not a great idea. But it also means that people can get more in more PF groups out there. Pictomancers can probably find a group, right?
It is a lot of server stress, and kind of the problem with it is that you're going into the first tier of the expansion, which is going to have a lot of participation. And if everyone goes to Aether, not only does Aether have the highest population, which is already going to be a problem with everyone logging in. Now everybody's going to be like, oh, we got to go to Aether to PF and everything. So now if you're playing on Aether at that point, you risk getting screwed due to the server exploding, or queues or disconnects, or maybe Caloric comes back and it ends up causing you to wipe 9 times due to the bug.
I forgot about that.
Yep, I had to remind you. Stuff like that can happen. And instead, they could just say, we're going to leave it the way it is. And instead, if you want to PF everyone together, go to Dynamis. And then you can just go there and you can hang out with everyone.
Right.
The thing is, people don't if you need to play with friends, you can do that. But people generally don't need to do that, as far as I know. A lot of players, they just go to, I think they're staying on their home world, unless they have friends.
I mean, I have to go to Dynamis every time I want to play with my raid group.
Yeah, because they're from all over.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you'd have to do that. But if you don't have to, it's, from what I understand, a lot of people are just going to stay on their home servers instead of swapping, which I think is also still healthy.
I mean, you guys are able to stay on Aether, aren't you?
Yes, but there is a discussion about, do we jump at some point, because
I mean, server stability, right?
Yeah,
it's
Aether
more the
explodes,
fact that
like
if
scary.
Aether explodes, then you log back in. It's like a queue of like 30 minutes.
Well, I mean,
versus if that happens in Dynamis, I feel like the queue would be a lot smaller.
Do you guys normally run into queue issues on new raid tiers?
Yes.
It's happened before.
Okay.
It also depends when and how far in you are. Like you're just playing for luck. Like in Asphodelos, the beginning of Endwalker, a lot of people had alts ready to go that might have been sitting there in the background in case they disconnected.
Right.
Because you disconnected that tier, you're done. Like there was no coming back. I think it was like Phantom disconnected on the 4th fight, but it was early enough in the morning that it got right back in. But if that was later, when we were going for kill pools, that's none. Like our prog is over.
I mean, that's if you guys
that
go
is
into the evening, right?
Yeah, but like even if you're going into the afternoon, that can become a problem.
I mean, talking about NA times. Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Like afternoon NA time will start becoming an issue potentially. And like you could say, "Oh, we have better servers now, everything should be good." But the problem then becomes if everybody is jumping to Aether, that problem just exacerbates itself. It's just compounding the issue.
I didn't ever think about this, but that is a factor in the world race then. Compare like region advantage, right? Because JP servers come up right in the middle of night or right in the evening, right? And then EU's right in the mid-morning, I guess. And then NA is in the middle of the night, so NA usually has less issues getting in early. But then as the raid tier goes on, JP can get in pretty easy. EU would have trouble around the first handful of fights. And NA will have trouble in the last handful of fights, right?
Yeah, they'd have a lot of trouble near the end. Also, remember that NA is going to have the sleep debuff. I'm not just saying that as an excuse for later.
This is why we need the staggered release, like WoW, I think.
No, we don't. Get out of here with that.
I'm sure that would cause absolutely no problems.
I would be so upset if they did that.
Oh, man. All right. So, with this, you guys said you're most excited. Let's go back to the fights for a second, because we were talking about that a little bit. But the fights themselves, everybody seemed most excited for M2, the bees. And so, I mean, besides, of course, the tiles, we talked a little bit about the tiles for the first one. But with the bees, what are you guys expecting or hoping to see within that fight?
Well, we're not fighting that fight. We're waiting until someone else kills it, and they can zone us into the third fight. We gotta...
Okay.
I would never dare to harm my queen.
Any world prog groups, hit me up.
All right.
A lot of dodging.
No, but I think A14 is really exciting, mostly because
are we really gonna keep this bit?
Not a bit.
Sure. Go ahead, please. Someone needs to call it R something, right? And someone call it whatever wrestling terms are for it. Yeah,
it's A for Arcadian. It just will make sense.
Yeah, so Arcadian 1, Arcadian 2, Arcadian 3.
Anyways, so A14. I think the randomness of like the hearts is something I'm not sure is gonna be in Savage, but I really hope it is.
You know,
I really like dynamic mechanics like that.
The hearts, it's an interesting thing, and I can see a handful of different ways they can play it. But I don't know if you guys noticed this. I'm sure you have. If you put 5 people on one of the stack ones where everyone gets a heart, only 4 people get a heart, right?
I will not be commenting on anything about that, unfortunately.
Okay, fair. Well, I just commented on it. Sorry. So I feel like could be some like back-end coding that has like maximum amount of like I guess punishment or distribution of hearts through a lot of their mechanics. So I don't know. So tell me what you do want to talk about on that fight then. If you want to like, what are you not hiding strategy-wise for it?
I just want that fight to have a lot of fun little dodging on the floor. Like, you know that dodge phase that you skip if you have good DPS? That's at like near the end of the fight.
Oh, with
I like that.
The bees.
Yeah, that's just fun.
With the bees, the whole fight is with the
bees. The bees, question mark.
I mean,
the bees.
That is one of the problems with that fight, is that if you have high ping, that fight probably feels very unfair sometimes. Because you're gonna be like, oh, I definitely got out of that and just got hit by a moving target.
I have a theory, at least, or a feeling, I guess, that we're gonna see Mario Kart strat in that fight.
I want to see Mario Kart strat.
I mean, I've definitely seen it on Twitter already.
Yeah.
For normal mode,
upset at that.
Let's not talk about that. That's dumb.
Oh, it's funny. All right, sorry.
Yeah. I'm sure of it.
I'm just saying.
I mean, we could.
That us North Americans are the pioneers of Mario Kart strats, and I will do everything in my power to make sure that
bring back
Welcome back, Grand
Uwu
Octet.
suppression.
Welcome back, Uwu suppression.
They could do
run in a circle, ignore the mechanic, never learn anything.
Well, I mean, just run around the boss's like hitbox, right? And just do a small Mario Kart track. Maybe you could do that.
The thing
I'm
is,
not
with
sure
that,
if I feel like it would be too wide. Like the dashes might be.
Well, if
like
you go
too
max
wide for that.
melee, maybe, but then the tank.
Yeah, you'd have to like do some weird math there.
Yeah.
you could do it, but it's probably
It's
not going to
oversight.
work the way you want.
Hmm.
But they're most likely not going to have the phases be exactly like that. Like, the thing with that type of phase, like a dodge phase, it's like, that's already pretty chaotic, and you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
But a savage version would either have to amp that up, and that might get a little ridiculous very quickly, unless there is an intended strategy, like run in a circle, or there's something that's got to be on top of it, or they just do something completely different. Like, it just doesn't really make sense to me for them to just reuse their normal mode mechanic like that, like 1-to-1, which is I don't.
I mean, they do that. They'll probably do that in the first turn. They'll have a lot of familiar things, I'm assuming, in the first turn.
There'll probably be some familiar things. I mean, there'll be familiar things in all the fights, but
I mean, the first two are the ones that have the least amount changes normally.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah. And then the third one is where they kick it up a bit. Although I guess that's not completely true for the last tier. Sort of, maybe. And then the last one, they do a lot of changing for it, right? I guess, we haven't talked... We talked a little bit about Bomberman, but we haven't talked too much about the last fight and your thoughts on what they could possibly do, or what you'd be interested to see them do. At least. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Wicked Thunder is definitely like the biggest question mark, because it's very possible that there's a new Savage phase that's like completely different, and like the first part of the fight.
Second platform.
I'm taking bets. Is it a door boss or is it not? I'm betting it's not.
I think it's not a door boss.
I think it is a door boss. I think this is my crackhead theory, where M4 is going to merge with the M3 boss, and it's going to be this like super amalgamation. It's going to be a cool fight.
I think it's a door boss because I don't want it to be one.
I mean, probably a door boss. Well, I don't know. I mean, like, what if they take it to the next level and there's 2 door bosses?
That would be really funny.
Door bosses.
That'd be really weird.
Personally, I would not want it to be a door boss, because I am a Shiva enjoyer and I love my 14-minute fights. But I think it is going to be a door boss.
2 door bosses might. I actually wonder if people would kill the fight really quickly, because that'd be like what 2 4-minute
fights? 2 checkpoints, right?
I mean 3 4-minute fights.
Yeah.
Or maybe 3 5-minute fights at that point.
I mean, at that point, just make a 5th floor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what if they could really pull a fast one on us if they really want to, right? They could do something really insane, and they could make that fight be over, and then after that fight's over, it unlocks a 5th fight.
That would be very cool.
That would be cool. It's not going to happen, but man, would that be cool.
I mean, it could be a thing, man. You never know.
People
get more faith than I do.
Angry over it.
So
you just like kill 4 and you open the chest and there's no weapon in there.
Yeah.
You're like, wait a minute.
It's a mimic.
Yeah. It teleports you to like outside the instance and a quest marker pops up or something like that.
That's what people were thinking about UCOD back in the day. That because of how hard it was, that when people finally killed it, there would be a chest at the end for like whatever the loot was, and when people opened it, it would just be a twister, and that was your final mechanic of the fight.
That would be
be funny.
You don't know. See, here's the thing: if that happened, right, and someone else got world first because of that, that would be the most controversial addition to the game ever, in the world race scene at least. But
welcome back, Proto-Ozma.
But they should do it because it's funny.
I mean, they should. Yeah. You're right. You're not wrong.
Anything for the bit.
Yeah. I mean,
Good thing I trust Square to not do dumb things like that.
Really?
Oh,
In a
absolutely.
main raid
Definitely.
scenario, yeah, I would not
They
enjoy
take
that.
them pretty seriously.
I mean,
They do tend to play them pretty safe most of the time.
I mean, they gave you a gotcha and uwu, sort of, right?
That was specifically for the blind proggers because they take it seriously.
That's like the outlier, though. Like it's like you think about the Woken mechanic and you think about the Enigma Codex. Those are the two like big like puzzly unexpected stuff. But Woken definitely has more of the surprise factor in it versus Enigma Codex, where you're just like sitting there with your friends, so your favorite hallucinogen, trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
Those types of fights, unless you did them back when they were relevant, like completely blind, it's just a completely different experience back then compared to now.
I mean, they could easily introduce that stuff in Savage too, though.
They could, but they'd have to be pretty. I mean, they had the Phoenix buff.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That is one of them. But that was for a final fight. If they did it in the early fights,
well, probably not in early fights. Yeah.
It's you got to have the fight still be fun while doing it, and that's I think one of the problems with it is that in certain cases it can kind of ruin some of the fun. Like I feel like T to some degree for many players, and it was like built around that, and then everybody just kind of does the like heart phase the way you're supposed to now,
right? Instead
of like actually learning it the hard way of being like, okay, we got to make sure this.
Like studying
heart
lore?
Doesn't make
you mean like reading a lore book before?
Well, no, like back in the like originally you wanted to you needed to put the
you did it like you did in
the middle of the room.
The Savage version of Alexander,
and
that's what got a lot of progress, right? Because hey, Alexander's coming up, let's practice Alexander in Savage.
Speaking on that, have you guys done the normal modes a billion times by now? I'm assuming.
I don't want to see normal mode, except for Honeybee.
I think Honeybee's mid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's a Midlander.
Yeah, she is a Midlander. She is, unfortunately, actually, I'm not gonna say anything. Let's not derail the conversation.
Yeah. No, it's fine. MogTalk.
Okay.
Yeah, what's up?
Honeybee Lovely is the most Midlander, and it's very disappointing to see that the one Midlander that actually is getting all the attention is the most Midlander that I've ever seen. It's genuinely fucked up. You guys should look at other Midlander NPCs that are just better.
Such a hater. You only hate it because she's popular, man. I swear.
Correct.
Yeah.
What about Midphilia?
Midphilia is better than Honeybee Lovely.
Whoa.
Ooh. Okay. I didn't think about it that much, but you're probably right. It does look like default character settings. But okay. So yeah, the second platform in the last fight gives some sort of hint that there's something crazy they could introduce there.
It's definitely weird that it's just there in the minimap.
I mean, this is, to be honest with you, the only circle fight that we have is the B fight.
That's true.
So they are going away from just circle basic arenas for the most part, not leaving them entirely.
Squares feel like circles, so...
I mean, squares have ways to abuse squares, right? You can max the length and stuff. So I don't think it's completely, as boring as a circle, but I mean, still a square.
I think I actually dislike squares more than I do circles.
Really?
Because squares are generally very specific in the way they need to be solved.
Rigid.
Yeah. Everything must be done in this tile sort of thing, right? As opposed to put the piece where you want to.
Okay.
Less agency, I guess.
There's generally a big difference between square arenas and tile arenas, but yeah.
I don't think Titan's a bad fight. I just think that in general, that you're more on the rails when you do a fight that's on a big 4x4 grid.
To be fair, phase 2 of Titan is pretty much a big, what's the word I'm looking for? Abuser of you have to do things on tile.
Well, I mean, when we look at these fights, the ones that are squares all have unique aspects to the arena in some way. It seems, at least, right? The three within this tier, because the third one has this huge arena with the fire, and there's obviously more going on with that than just that square. Then the first one has tiles that fall apart, and it could be not a lot of mechanics you're going to do is not really on a square. It's on tiles that are available for you to stand on. And the last one has
really interesting
two
to do it.
platforms, likely. So.
Jump between platforms as well. Usually there's something like to give you a debuff that prevents you from jumping or something. But
oh yeah, I didn't see that.
Well, we have the technology for that now.
Now that you say that, I didn't see that for the first turn. But they didn't.
Yeah.
Did they have that in normal mode for?
They had it in normal for.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
Okay. The only like debuff I really didn't see them like maximize too much is concussion stuff in M3. I didn't see a lot of emphasis on that. It was something that you got when you messed up a mechanic, right? So I don't know if that's just going to be a general failure mechanic or something that you're going to actually have to pay attention to.
It does look like a way of like kind of doing like the damage downish type thing, where instead of having a damage down, it's more of a if you fuck up twice, you get stunned.
Maybe there's not a timer on it, right? And it just stays permanent until you get concussed. Yeah, that would make sense to me. Man, I mean, there's a lot. Have you guys, in comparison to like trying to figure out other tiers and everything, has this been at least been interesting, like normal modes to try to decipher for what they could come up with?
It's been interesting.
Yeah, the fights are very different in terms of what you can sort of extrapolate from them. Like some of them give you lots of ideas, some of them give you like very little. Is kind of what I've found.
I mean, every single one of them have lots of ideas. Like, which one is the one that gives you like little?
I don't want to say that.
It's more sometimes there's just like not a lot of information that you can glean from the normal modes.
Okay.
I think that's just a general thing for like all of the normal modes, especially when you have like 2 week delays. You're just kind of more prone to like overanalyzing mechanics like that, coming up with like.
I mean, you guys should be coming up with wild ideas that you know 100% aren't going to be true, right? Because Echo's listening right now. You could just literally fuck with their head. All right. Just put some bullshit theories out there and just.
Who says that we haven't already done that?
I mean, true. All right, Echo's not here, but Robin's here.
I can assure you, anything we've thought of, they've also thought of.
You think so?
Most likely. Yes.
So, Sindoff,
I played with a lot of them before, and they're also going to be thinking about similar things, most likely.
All right, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Do you think your group is smarter than their group?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not going to comment on my group's performance.
I think I am the smartest person in Final Fantasy XIV World Progression.
Okay.
My head is massive. My IQ is in the 4 digits. Sindoff doesn't count. He's just, ethereal.
I'm not smarter.
He's just an execution person, right?
I'm not even good at that either.
Follow the leader type of guy.
He presses
I try to be a good soldier.
Okay.
Sometimes you need that. Somebody who just listens.
Why is your group better than Echo's group?
This is gonna sound really weird, but I don't want to talk about how good my group is or my opinions on it because I'm trying to stay focused on the actual goal, and I don't want to get any of that shit in my head.
Okay. All right.
Stay focused.
I'm not.
Just
starting beef.
I don't want to tilt my team by saying this shit, I think is what just went through his head.
No, that is not actually. There's. This is also very much so about me.
Okay.
I actually have. There's a decent amount of teams who have signed up for the event so far, and there's a handful of them that are like, trying to not have their stream shown as well. And so it's kind of interesting to see. This is a little bit. It's higher response, I think, than we had in the last race. Although the last race was the last tier, I guess, of it, so it makes sense that some people fell off. But it's really exciting to see that people are actually. They seem pretty hyped for this race in general. So it could be some good competition out there.
The Echo absorption of Neverland has to be huge in terms of building hype, right? Like so many more people are going to have their eyes on it because there's that extra factor in there now. So it's not surprising that I think there's a lot more.
Until they like get nervous on stream and fuck up a whole bunch and fall behind like another stream team, and it gets in their head, right? And then they're gonna be like, oh fuck, and then they're just it's over.
Messed
right?
up, man. Can't just say that.
Kind of fucked up.
I mean,
not even I am starting that much beef with Echo.
I mean that is a thing that I hope they had thought about at some point, because like even back in all the way like TPS didn't stream DSR, but I remember like not everybody in the group was like super public all the time, and not everybody realized how like popular we were going into that tier. And we had like in our Discord there was like a containment channel where everybody could just go to within like the Radiance FC and actually just like talk and like theorize where we were in Prague and all that other stuff. But I think someone mentioned that halfway through Prague, they looked at that channel for a moment and they realized all those people are watching. And when you do that, it's like, you're like, oh, all those people are cheering us on, which is cool. But also, that means when you fuck up, you're letting all those people down. You're letting yourself down and you're letting your team down, because people already feel that when they mess up in Prague. But now there's all these others. And the problem with like having a big stream team is going to also be, okay, you can probably guess there's going to be a couple thousand viewers. How's someone going to feel like if they're not doing well, or you're getting close to that clear, that you're going to be a little nervous there potentially, because people are looking,
get all these ideas
everything
in their head. Do it, Sindoff. Keep digging.
No, this is like this is a real thing that group should be like thinking about at some point, and just be like,
I'm sure they've already
okay with the whole thing.
They've already,
but
yeah,
there can be people who are great with that type of stuff, and they're just like, okay, because all these people are watching, they're not going to bullshit and argue the whole time. Because almost every Prague tier I've ever been in with any group ever, there's always an argument at some point throughout Prague. And that can help because you're being listened to. Shut up, listen, lock in, and just, do what you got to do. Some people that can work very well for it, but it depends on the individual.
Yeah. I think they're going to do really good. It's going to be really impressive to see what that Prague looks like in general. And just to see that kind of perspective. I mean, it's been there in some way, right? With the stream teams that have existed so far. Yes. Because that's literally the information those stream teams had is internal, right? They it's still the exact same thing where they're figuring out the mechanics themselves and they're trying to push past the next party. You're seeing that process. But Neverland has cleared and gotten first plenty of times, and so seeing them is just another perspective of that. And it would be absolutely insane if they got world first on stream, because that would be outside of Criterion, right? That will be the first time that has actually happened.
If there was any tier to do it, it's always the first tier, because you're probably expecting that to die in a day.
The thing is,
and that means the information matters less, because if you're streaming like that and you're ahead, they probably know that there are groups out there who most likely have better executioners in the evening. They'd go to sleep. Somebody would wake up. Somebody would look at all their stuff and be like, oh, we can get up to that moment when they're asleep. And then, then everybody's caught up.
Yeah.
Like that's a terrible feeling to know.
Yeah.
If you're doing it on a 2-day tier.
I mean, yeah. I do feel like, man, exactly what you said. This is going to be the time to do it. Which, sucks for you guys, right? You guys could have done it, huh?
Why should we?
It's like
this team was not made for that, right? Yeah. And obviously, the only real, the only real conclusion you can draw from that statement is that we are definitively cheating because we're not streaming. By the way, that's the only answer. The only reason we'd say this. Yeah.
True. No, are you guys going to record your prog?
Yeah, we're recording everything.
And then you're going to upload it like just the full prog afterwards?
I don't know if we will, but, we'll have the footage there.
It depends on if you guys slip up, right?
Yeah, if like somebody actually turns on their plugin and everyone can see it in like the footage, obviously we're
The
not gonna
auto
release our
win
footage.
one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like last year, Rhaegar accidentally brought up the command prompt that showed like the private server and everything, so he couldn't release it there.
Hold on.
Oh, you're leaking stuff,
Yeah.
bro.
You know how many? There's at least a small percentage that is gonna take what you said seriously.
Oh, for sure. I kind of revel in it, honestly, at this point.
Have you seen my Twitter and the amount of people
Flash,
that think?
no clip.
Oh, Jesus Christ, dude.
Have you seen my Twitter and seen how many people think I'm best
No,
friends
I
with
don't.
Paisley?
Dude, I don't look at your Twitter. Fuck
People
no,
don't
dude.
know that I have a private server.exe, and when the server comes up, I just drag the Final Fantasy XIV client icon onto the private server, and it just like tells me everything. Especially right there in the mechanics.txt file.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What program do you guys use to actually draw out and sketch out mechanics?
MS Paint.
Paint.
Is it just MS Paint for real?
I mean, I personally use paint.net. It's usually just like Paint. That's usually all you need for early prog. We do have this time
14 encounters aren't supposed to be like complicated, that you need nothing more than like a basic drawing outline.
We do have another person who's not here with us, another person in like the 9th squad who is like kind of in charge of making fancier looking diagrams just to make it easier to like visualize, but I don't know what program they use.
Okay.
It's probably just like Photoshop.
Or Photoshop or
Fancy Photoshop. Wow.
A very nice
actually-
program called Figma. We don't use it. No, Figma.
Figma. No,
Figma
this is like one
balls.
of those Ligma jokes.
No, it's actually
No, there's
not.
actually a thing out there called Figma.
Yeah, that does actually exist.
It's very good for making like scale diagrams because you have like all the assets and you can just make them to scale with the arena and stuff.
Okay.
We don't use it, but it's a very nice program if people want to get into like that kind of diagram making sort of role.
More advanced, more precise kind of stuff.
Mm.
Yeah, and
You-
like that
You
stuff
actually-
can be used.
Sorry, you
Go
go
ahead.
I was just going to say, you asked us at the start if we'd like made any roster changes, and the biggest change we actually made over, the expansion change was we expanded our Knights team a little bit. So we've got Mips and Mar helping us out now to ease Cleese's burden a little bit.
I mean, there's no limit to how many people you can throw in a 19, right?
Yeah, look at it.
I hear AG3 has like 40 people, so
Yeah, I mean, there's
AG3 has like the rest of North America as their 9th
There's some people who
squad,
have,
and
like-
I honestly kind of like admire them for that.
some people who have entire regions for their 9th, right?
JP.
It's true. JP is a monolith.
I don't know. So I guess we'll see how all that turns out.
I was gonna mention for like the charting stuff.
Yeah.
Like one of the reasons we kind of use Paint, or at least I like that we use it, is because there's been times in the past where people are like, oh, look at this strategy, and they'll give me a power. They're like, oh, I made this. Here's your strat, and it's a PowerPoint slide that you sometimes see for PF, and it's got like 12 plus pages with a bunch of text and a billion pictures. I can't remember that, and my ADHD is going to kick in, and I ain't reading a thing in there. Like, tell me what to do. Give me a picture. Give me a simple picture, single one. If it needs a second one, put them side by side. That's it. I'm done. I don't want this giant slide that goes over everything. That's way too much.
I mean, that's true. I mean, you just need one page. Ideally, when I learn mechanics, right, as simple Frosty here, is that I will go in and I'll look at one exact mechanic and just try to figure that out with where do I go for my position, how do I understand it with a one-page diagram, which is difficult to do sometimes because mechanics take a lot to explain to a whole team of people, but most strategies and most guides out there are dedicated to every position and every role. I kind of wish there were more strategy guides that were one role guides, right?
Like a tank guide for X fight.
Yeah, like a tank guide, like a healer guide, like a close range position guy, not melee, right? but close range position and far
DPS
range.
1 and 2.
Yeah.
And DPS 3 and 4.
DPS 2, yeah, D2, D1 and 2, and D3 and 4, right?
Yeah, it'd be cool. Like you could even like maybe like macro it and everything.
Oh, no way.
Wait a second.
I can't read.
Oh.
North America, I am begging you. Even EU is
Learn.
doing it.
EU
Come
doesn't
on.
use macros.
NA needs to learn to use macros.
Does EU not use macros?
No, they use Pastebin. Everyone really uses Pastebin now.
Oh, okay, never
it's
mind.
Is
it's
it wait?
Damn,
is
we
it the old
both
paste bin or
suck!
the new base bin?
Yeah, it's seriously just saying Pastebin. They don't go to. They don't put spots on the floor, right? They don't do the waybark dance. I mean, some people throw up macros and stuff, but it's like pointless to throw it up because everybody read the Pastebin, right? That's the understanding, is that you read the Pastebin. You know where to go. Why would you throw up a macro if you read the Pastebin?
My problem with
I haven't
Pastebin is
read
that people say Pastebin, but then they don't
Don't
get
really
like
get
the
it.
There's like
Pastebin.
10 different paste bins too.
It always becomes one, right? And you just have to know which one.
Eventually.
At the very beginning, it starts with, hey, this is the last 5 letters or 6 letters of the Pastebin, and then it devolves into just Pastebin, right? It depends on how far you are into the tier. And I know this because I progged this last tier for a year. In Party Finder, I've joined clear groups for a whole year on both EU and NA. I saw it start, and then how it devolved over that whole year. And it did turn into just Pastebin at the end. At first, it was C83 and DUC, and that was EU. That's what they called their strats for at least P12. NA is more prone, I think, to literally just saying what the mechanics are still, like Pan. Right? They don't say hexagon in EU. They just assume that's what you're doing. But, yeah. You guys don't have to worry about it.
I mean, I do when I want to pug later, and it's always annoying because I'm trying to figure stuff out, and I don't know what strat they're doing. So I always end up being the Giga Griefer.
Mm.
Also because you click on anything and it instantly sends me to like that 24-page slide, and I'm like, bro, I ain't reading this shit. Just tell me what I'm doing.
They assume you've read
Caloric.
it once, right? It's not an assumption that you've read it when you go in. You've read it way before you went in. Is the assumption. So
yeah, I'm lazy. Use a macro. I will grief until, well, not really grief, but I will be the person you don't want in PF until they change their ways. And it's like, NA should really do that because it makes it very clear what strategies people are doing.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, like, back in the beginning of Endwalker, one of our crafters had cleared on, like, JP server.
Mm-hmm.
They've cleared the whole tier on JP, and then they're like, okay, I'm going to go clear on NA. And every time they tried to pug, the first fight for the entire week, they could not clear. Because NA not only cannot agree on
even
strat,
though they did the JP strat on it.
there was different strats for like the chain with the numbers. There's how are we handling damage, the ice and fire with damage down, because tanks don't want to just like swallow their pride and take the damage down, which is, if you have a problem with that, you're dumb. By the way,
everyone has a problem with damage down. What are you talking about?
No, you take the damage down. You go for the clear.
People live with
no
their
one cares.
portfolio. That is on a website somewhere, right?
Guess what? That portfolio, unless it is a full static, is absolute garbage.
It is.
And I do not care for it.
But people still, that's how, when people recruit, they look at it. I'm letting you know. And most groups will go and look at it.
Simply fake your logs. Have them have like the funny like yellow color on them. That makes them shinier.
Historical 100 or bust. But
yeah,
the thing is like they struggled, and then eventually they're like, okay, I got a solution to this problem. I'm going to use a macro. And I remember they put in their PF, have macro, and nobody joined. Like, nobody joined, but they were trying, and they just could not get that clear.
Macros.
Oh, 7.
I love macros. I just press H1, and I don't even have to look at anything else.
Yeah. I mean, it's...
You don't have to do the marker dance.
Yeah.
I will say, I want markers to stay around forever, because my favorite thing is to go from NA to EU and put markers down in EU at the beginning of the fight just to see the reaction of the group afterwards. It is so much fun, dude. I love the general confusion.
Macros help carry us in T and other fights.
Oh, did they know?
But you guys don't have to worry about any of this stuff, right? This is all like way after.
Oh yeah, this has nothing
Yeah,
to do with
nothing to
what
do
the
with
show
World
is
Race.
actually. Yeah, whoops.
I mean, we
Literally just
used.
general talking about rating. Yeah.
I mean, we've used macros in Prague, and they are still very useful.
I mean,
Some-
Favorite
you
is when we accidentally leak a macro and someone comes up with a completely different strat.
oh, trying to decipher what the macro was meant for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
It's
yeah.
happened more than once. as
It's
well.
happened more than once.
Yeah.
Like,
We've had ones put out on videos of mechanics. We've had ones put out on FC chat more than once. It keeps happening.
I actually,
Just don't
I
release your
remember.
macros.
I remember in Promise, someone leaked one of our macros by accident, but it was the wrong macro. So it actually would have failed if they stole it.
That's the 10k IQ.
Wait, wasn't this for advanced relativity or something?
No, it's for basic, I think.
It was for
Oh,
basic.
basic? Okay, I was one of the relativities. I remember seeing it.
Like,
Oh no.
We didn't need it by then, but we saw it.
yeah, you know, are you guys please? Are you gonna stick to Twitter the whole year?
Oh, I
already have
do
stuff
not go
scheduled
on
out?
Twitter. That's all thanks to RoboCleese, who I programmed like ahead of time.
Is it already programmed and ready to go?
Oh, for sure. If anyone is looking at my Twitter account, know that at most there's going to be one tweet that's going to be actually made by me during Prague, and it's going to be, I'm going to bed and I'm sad.
Oh.
Or we cleared.
Okay.
Yay. There's one comment I want to make on all that stuff,
Sure.
Frosty, about like macros and
Yeah.
something you said earlier is that you said you wanted a guide
Which
for
one?
like different roles.
Oh yeah.
The thing about that is, in Prague, you might not always have enough data to know like what roles you're gonna get and like what mechanics. Like they could be random, they could be on DPS this time, they could be on healers the next. And the thing about that is, if you do use a macro, you kind of do partially need to pay attention to what is being discussed and what's being in there, even if it's like a DPS section, because I don't know that next pool it could swap around, and then I have to do it as a tank.
Well,
we
but
don't
you'd
want to
only
have
put
that
what's like
discussion again.
relevant, right? And so it wouldn't be like you would have overlapping like explanations in all those guides. It wouldn't be all overlapping though. You would cut out all the stuff that doesn't really matter to tank, like all the tank busters you don't care about as a DPS, right? It doesn't mean anything to you. I'm assuming.
I mean, yes.
There's a lot of like when you're looking at that from like a DPS perspective. There's a lot of fat within the strategy that you could just ignore. You will need to know what, like your guide would say, hey, use your addle at this point, or use whatever at this point, right? It would be not use whatever fits best mitigation there. It would say, this one hits hardest, and likely in a situation of Party Finder, this is where you'll get the most benefit from it.
Right.
So.
But what I'm mentioning is more like, because we're in a blind setting,
yeah,
a lot of the discussions that you have, you need, even if it's not important to your role, you have to be paying attention to, because you don't know if you're going to have to deal with it later, if something's going to change, all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
And when that finally happens, you need to be ready for it, and that adds to a much higher mental stack that you need to be keeping. And sometimes stuff like macros can really help with that.
Why are you saying this like you actually do any of it? Don't you just follow everybody?
I pay attention as well.
Okay.
I am unfortunately have to confirm that Sindolf does sometimes pay attention.
Okay.
I have to pay attention, but I do follow people a lot in certain types of mechanics. If I am capable of. I think there are certain types of mechanics out there that some people are just better at than others, and it allows the whole party to follow. And I love those being let one person solve it. Ride together, die together type thing.
Yeah.
Because if you have all 8 people doing it, you could do that, but all 8 people are a chance to fail. I'd rather have one person do it.
I mean, their solution for extreme was to like throw, at least for EX2, right? Was to throw those markers on your head after a mechanic, and then you can't follow anybody because you have to go to a spot, right? And spread. So we might see some combinations of that where if they want to add personal responsibility to players where they can't Dorito follow, they just throw a marker on your head, and if you're standing next to someone, you die, right? You actually have to understand the mechanic in some way.
I mean, yeah, those are spreads. All the stuff ahead of time, though.
Yeah.
Those are the stuff that you can follow someone in. I mean, that's what we did when we were learning the fight.
Yeah.
I followed people.
Yeah. A lot of the time when you clear a fight, like, really fast, you will not know a lot of the rules of the fight. You won't know exactly which targeting rules there are. You won't know exactly, like, this is always fixed to be this way. You might assume a whole bunch of things are random that aren't because you just don't have the data set to prove that it's not.
Well, I mean, like,
so
when
making any type of guide based on that, or a macro even to just distribute, like, you have to give them all the info because, yeah.
That's true.
You just don't know.
I mean, on that point, too, I mean, when you guys are doing Prague, I have had lots of post, world race conversations where I'm like, how did you guys feel about the first turn? And you're just sitting there trying to remember what even happened, right? And so a lot of those...
Yeah, pretty much.
Just the first couple of fights start to, like, at least the first one usually leaves your mind pretty immediately because you're handling those mechanics on more of a reactionary based situation because you can, right? It's usually kind enough to let you go through and do that.
Not only that, but, like, you have so much mentally going through your head afterwards that it, like, forcefully ejects the first two fights from your head, I feel like most of the time. There's just not enough space in there. Like, there's a limit to how many things you can learn in a day, and, like, savage tears that happen really fast get really close to that limit for me.
Yeah.
One of the most fun things about being in a World Prog group is that you actually get to World Prog twice for the first two fights. Once when you're actually progging, and then the next week when you're trying to remember what the fights actually were.
Right.
Don't forget week 3. Half the group has went pugging or played with friends.
So
they're like used to different strategies now, and then you come back to the group and everyone's like, are we doing prog strats or are we doing these new things? And then you get to relearn again.
Do you guys not clear your knife players after you get your clear?
No, they hate us. We were no, I'm kidding.
Oh, okay.
I think all of our knights are in their own statics individually, generally, most of the time.
Most of the time. This time, if any group needs a player that will not be available day one, let me know.
I need some knights. Anyone watching this that needs to give me... I need a couple knights for my group that I'm managing. I'm a manager of the group. Let me know. I need some knights.
If they needed a clear, I mean, they could ask, and we'd help them out, but most of the time they don't want it. They'd rather get it themselves in their own groups.
Yeah. Pull yourself up by your own bootstraps.
MMOs aren't fun when I mean, this is one of the reasons like I do World Prog, because MMOs like this are not fun when it's all figured out and like just given to you. Like, especially 14. Like I cannot imagine playing this game casually and just going into fights and have everyone like, all right, here's what you do. You're going to go do this, 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 and this here. And it's just like, really? Well, that just sounds so not fun.
So here's, I understand you've always been in that perspective, right? To where you're always like, you're figuring out yourself. Everything is completely figuring out. But I would say there is some level of enjoyment in executing the instructions and being able to understand mechanics after hearing the instructions, right? And being able to execute it. Like, for example, if you go play a sport or something and they're like, hey, you're shooting it the wrong way, you should try to shoot it this way, and then learning how to shoot it and getting better at it and improving yourself. There is a lot of enjoyment with that.
Because I didn't always World Prog, and I'd say early on, a lot of things were like that, because it's like you're still learning the game, there's still a lot for you to figure out. But there's like this point with the way the game is, or people who've played long enough, where it's like, I've done all that before, and it just gets a little more, I guess, boring at that point. Because, I mean, there's always things you can improve on, but there's like this just point where you don't have to spend all that time in like a casual static. It usually happens when you reach a point with a good enough, that you can join a good enough group that you're going to clear pretty quickly, instead of suffering to clear like week 13.
Yeah. Well, I on that argument too, there's also the stress of reward, right? And getting it within that first week and finding groups that can execute, and just that is the goal, right? Being able to get the rewards in that first week and trying to get the rewards as soon as possible. And that is what you're trying to accomplish, and that's the fun of it, is getting past that hurdle. And people are so reward focused that they don't care that they're losing the point of figuring out the mechanics, because for some people that could take months. And so I get it.
I still think, regardless of the time frame, absolutely everybody who enjoys raiding in this game should try it at least once. Just
I do
blind
think so.
raiding.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Extreme is probably the best place to I mean,
even just Savage Launch, just
So-
log in and do the first couple fights, right?
every time that you
teams can do
start
that.
a new fight you've never done before is always a recommendation to go in without looking up a guide or looking up anything. At least, like, taste the fight first, right? Get that first, like, get in there, and then experience, seeing the mechanics and trying to figure that out in your head. So fresh parties are a lot of fun. Fresh parties are probably the most fun parties in all Party Finder that I've experienced.
Just make sure everyone's on the same page, or you're not gonna have a good time.
I mean,
Fresh party, yet someone brings down the waymarks immediately and starts explaining everything.
ignore them. All right, just say, all right, whatever. Marks are on the ground. Screw them. Or you just hit the clear waymark button. That's fine. Whatever you do, just going in there and just getting that first fresh taste is fun. But I do understand the frustration of, like, sitting there and being like, guys, I don't know how to figure out this mechanic. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I worked all day. And not wanting to use your brain in that way. You just want to progress through the fight, because the progression is satisfaction for most people. No matter how you get it. No, I'm not gonna wrap it
up
up
at the same time like me.
Here's the secret, Rumi. I haven't slept in like 3 days.
Yeah,
It's all been like 2-hour naps every now and then.
we haven't had.
I'm not
enough
having
stuff.
a good time.
We haven't done enough psychological warfare on Echo's group yet. I feel like we need to get that out of the way.
Psychological warfare.
Yeah.
I would never stoop down to something as low as psychological warfare. Like,
Well,
I would
I'm
never,
right
I
now.
would never schedule fake tweets saying that we cleared fights. I would never post a picture of Nisi, just randomly in the middle of Prague.
Yeah. Oh yeah, here's
Never.
a good point. Why am I supporting the non-stream team? What does that do to help me out?
You should support DN.
Hey Rumi, how's Narlark's Paladin coming along?
What?
Whoa.
What?
You're not supposed to. You're supposed to leak fake shit, not like the real tech. Come on.
I'm just asking a question.
Hey man. No matter what, they've already won in some way. they got some gear. Right?
I mean, yeah, kinda did just get like the fucking
they've already kind
like
of
the
won.
Elgato like fucking like little like the stream deck. That thing looks so cool. I want to
Hey,
have
man.
one of those.
I'm gonna let you know. Here's a little secret. I haven't really said too much. I mean, I actually on the signups it's there. You could win a Pictomancer or Viper Stream Deck and Elgato mic from the World Race event. Just FYI.
Ooh.
Top few teams are gonna get it, and people in chat might get it too. People donating to charity, Extra Life might get it as well.
I'm
We got a
assuming
lot
this is
of
for
stuff.
stream
So
only,
what
right?
you're saying
It's stream only. If you guys want to
is
stream,
that all I have to do is just donate money to charity instead.
I mean, you could, yeah, absolutely. If you don't stream and you donate money to charity, you'll have a 1 in like 300, 500 chance of getting it. It's
Yeah,
not too
but
bad.
you know
But
what
if-
truly matters is that I am supporting the people at Extra Life for doing great things. And
you
that's
act like you're like doing this like hard like joke sale, but it is literally a good thing.
No, I mean, yeah, it's literally. I was like trying to like twist that into like a joke somewhere, and then I like accidentally just like was like completely honest.
You're like trying to be honest, but in the tone of a joke, which is yeah, no, it's really cool. Yeah, we are doing Extra Life again for the event. It's really cool what we have planned. A lot of it. Mountain Dew has been amazing to work with. We have the big sipping group that's going on, which we were able to finalize that group not too long ago, for the most part. And Big Sipping's going to be taking part at a world race for like at least 8 hours, right? And so it's going to be cool to see how far Big Sipping can get. Because it has been an experience seeing them in the community for the last month or so.
I'm rooting for Big Sippin.
Yeah.
What happens if he wins?
Could you imagine if he cleared it within the first 8 hours?
That would be crazy.
Collusion?
Bro,
I'll let you know there's a chance, dude. Big Sippin's a good player. He's not just some random person out there. He's really good. And we have a pretty decent team put together. I mean, it's kind of a newer to like World Prog team, but they're pretty decent players overall. And
I mean, to be fair, this seems like a great way to introduce yourself to World Prog. It sounds like pretty fun.
It is a solid like introduction to World Prog team. Like everyone there is excited to be there, right? And excited to try to experience it. And just we have someone helping us with crafting. We have someone that's helping us with a little bit of knife manning, which they're new to as well. But I think she's going to do a pretty good job, you know. And so I'm going to see how it all plays out. Man, just wait till you guys see it. I think we have a promo video that's coming up like next day or two.
Wait, that's sick.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. I've been kind of following a lot of the chat, and they're having a lot of fun. I played with them a little bit last night too. But yeah, that's part of what we're doing with the World Race, and we're also, you know, the rewards. We have green crystal trophies for the first stream team as well, like the Heidelin crystal, but it's, you know, green. It says lightweight on the bottom of it. For the first team that wins. But we're also giving away like Battle Beaver custom controllers, which we haven't shown images of that yet, but that's coming up pretty soon. And I'll go to the first 3 teams, and we'll give it away for a donation incentive. I have this cloud figurine that's worth like a couple $100 I'm going to be giving away. I have a vinyl album for Rebirth that I'll be giving away. A little Chocobo plushie. We have Viper and Picto key sets to like replace your keyboards with. The Elgato mic and stream deck for Viper and Picto as well will be given away and as rewards as well. And Corsair has donated headsets and some wireless scimitars giveaway too, for the top 2 teams. So it's a lot of stuff, a lot of really, really cool stuff. I'm excited for it.
So I can get in all of this if I secretly turn on my stream, right?
Yeah. I mean, I could literally put up a stream and just say random World Race team if you want. You know, I have been debating if you guys stream at least the health bar, maybe that would make you guys eligible, but I don't know.
The health bar.
The health bar. I was thinking about streaming just like a VTuber model and just completely muted everywhere else, and you would just see reactions.
Yeah. Oh, there's also another thing that we're doing, which I haven't announced, but it doesn't matter that if I say it now or not. During the entire event, we have over 1,000 of those refreshing drink codes that give away with zoo mounts.
Like in-game codes?
We have like 8 in-game zoo mount codes too, which are sold out. Which we'll be just throwing in chat for everyone that's watching. It's NA only, unfortunately. That's just region locked to how like all that stuff worked with Square Enix and everything. But 1,000 codes, 1,008 codes, which we're going to be giving away in chat throughout the entire event. That's a lot, dude.
Shoutouts to North America.
Yeah. But it's pretty cool. I think. And there's also stuff, a lot of stuff that we're all going to reveal in the next couple of days, too, with the race. But, Sindoff, you said you had a couple of questions. Is there any questions you had about the race in general? The event?
Did I say that?
You said it way before we even started streaming, but...
Where's the spicy question, Sindoff?
Yeah, I don't have anything spicy to ask at this point.
Okay. You got all your answers?
Yeah, for the most part. You answered my spicy question.
Okay.
It's not as fun anymore.
Well, I mean, like, we're going to have also, if people are wondering about the leaderboard and stuff, I'm going to have all that updated. We were doing a whole, like, new website for it, but I have just concerns it could break during the race, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to go back to the old school website, and I'm just going to run with that. And we'll see how all that stuff goes. So we'll do ranking the same stuff on the MogTalk.org site. And we might have some cool data stuff to show with comparisons. We have a whole, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Tableau, right? Whole data set with previous world race information thrown into that work with.
I am very familiar with Tableau.
Yeah. And over 40 commentary hosts.
How are you gonna fit them all in there?
How is that gonna work?
Yeah.
Is it like 24-hour coverage or something? Or
It is 24-hour coverage. We're doing coverage up to 3 days, right? I have no clue what the tiers, what we have prepped for at least 3 days of race, and we're gonna try to cover the first 3 stream teams, right?
I mean, you gotta remember, right, that like the tier will probably die in 24 hours, but there's still gonna be other stream teams still going at it.
I mean, we got rewards for the first three stream teams, first 3 teams that sign up, and so that is like looking at that is probably at least going to go into day 2, and with that all as well, Neverland I don't think counts for the rewards because we're not streaming their entirety of Prague on the event, so it's kind of like a separate thing.
Because they have to go on like broadcasts and stuff.
It's going to be like, I'll have more information about that later, but yeah, it's not exactly the same thing. And the but for getting the 40 people on the show, just to go back to that real quick, basically we're gonna have 2-hour segments and 3 people per segment, and people kind of swapping in and out throughout the event. And we have people like Arthur's coming on, Lamatad, Aya's coming on, the usual suspects, Rook, Sam, a good handful of people. We put out a post on the MogTalk Twitter if people want to look at the full rundown. But it's a lot of really cool people. Cybear's coming on too, but for us and everybody, which will be interesting because I don't think they're even at the end game right now, but they pay attention.
Oh, that's
to World
always
Race.
fun.
Yeah. They're familiar with World Race from like a WoW perspective, so it's pretty interesting. Yeah. Jeez, dude, I've been thinking about this thing for the last year. I am so ready for it to just be done and over with, to be completely honest with you.
Are you thinking about it for a year?
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, how long has it been since the last Prague tier? I'm pretty excited too.
Over a year.
May last year was the end of May last year. Yeah. But I mean, when you're like, because what we're doing with this whole, because it's a big volunteer event trying to cover the world race and everything else, right? And so we're scrapping together whatever resources we can, and raising money for charity and trying to make it work. So it's a semi-scrappy production, but working with sponsors, you can't do that with a couple of months, right? So like a lot of those conversations start a year before the event happens.
And they need to know the exact dates, and you can't tell them.
I mean, there's some flexibility. People understand game development is wonky, right? And things change. But yeah, getting it as close to exact as possible. I mean, them changing the hour to 3 a.m. instead of 2 a.m. Pacific. I mean, that's abnormal, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's always been this time.
It's
always just because of like daylight
I think
savings.
it might be a DST thing. I'm not sure.
Daylight savings isn't even close to right now, right? I don't think that's a thing. So,
I think
I
Dawn
don't
Trail
know.
was early. It normally drops like 8 p.m. where I am every tier for the last 10 years. I don't know.
Is it the same time for you? 8 p.m. Where are you at?
Australia.
Australia. Okay. So, and it's
Unless
still
I just,
exactly
like,
8
made all
p.m.
that
for
shit
you?
up. I think so, yeah.
Is that the same for you, Sphia? The time is the same?
Yeah, I think so. This is my second tier while I've been in Australia, so it's 2 hour difference. Yeah, the time is exactly the same as what I'm used to.
Huh. But for everybody in NA, it's different, right?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. It's 1 hour later than usual.
There's some time paradox shenanigans going on. I don't know what's going on.
We take this. Yeah,
Yeah,
give me the. I will take the 2 a.m. the 3 a.m.
Get more sleep. It's a secret buff.
I mean, the expansion came up at 2 a.m., so I mean that wasn't even that far away, right?
NA is always at a disadvantage because of sleep.
Not always
so-
at a
it's so
disadvantage
bad.
because of sleep.
Nah, like West Coasters are so fucked. It's unreal.
Yeah, to put it into perspective, I usually go to sleep at like, I don't know, 11, 12 a.m., right? I now have to wake up at 2 a.m.
I go to bed at 1 a.m.
Yeah,
and I gotta
exactly.
wake up at 2 a.m.
It's 9 in the morning here, and I'm tired as fuck.
Yeah, the real secret though is that half of the EU team is NA anyways. So.
Oh, is that true? Yeah, actually, you're
Yes,
not
that
wrong.
is
I'm pretty sure it is.
It's funny. Yeah, that's actually funny that we still like.
Your East Coast is not as bad though. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember doing
East Coast is
World
high
Prog
chill.
East Coast. You wake
6
up
out
at
of
like
8
5, 6.
NA. That's so fucking.
Really? Is it 6 out of 8 in A?
That's what Ruby is saying.
Why are you guys on EU then?
What the hell are you guys doing?
Yeah, from what I remember, yeah, a lot of them are on NA.
Yeah, isn't it?
You know what? I'm
Snap
changing
instead?
them to NA on the fucking leaderboard, dude.
yeah,
You gotta
My
keep it
rules
as
that-
EU.
follow the letter of the rules.
Yeah.
I think it's funnier if you put it under EU.
I mean, it's
Honestly,
funnier.
though, I like having, EU because NA versus EU is way more fun than one NA group versus another NA group.
But it's fake.
Yeah, but you get an excuse to make fun of Europeans.
Wait a minute. Do you guys have more people who are not NA in your group?
No, I think
They
it's
were
just
even.
Svea
pretty
and
close.
Vi,
Yeah.
We have
right?
half the group isn't from the US.
Oh, but North America is like
3 in Australia, 1 in Canada.
So
the rest
you
in
no, if
America.
they're 6 out of 8, you guys are not 6 out of 8. You're lower than 6 out of 8.
They're more.
We are
ended
a
up.
less American team than Eco.
that's true.
You guys are technically closer to Oceanic than they are EU.
Oh, we're 3-3. 4-3.
We can be the OS team.
Host team.
You could
Oh,
be.
man.
Yo, can we raid on OC then, please?
Why do I
please,
even do
please?
regions
Please,
anymore?
Oh
Like,
no, man! The internet is a beautiful thing that has connected people across continents for decades. At this point,
You mean the content got hard enough that we were forced to look outside?
Let's split
yeah.
the difference and go to JP. How about that?
Yeah. I mean,
Oh, so
JP's the only
everybody
one that would
sucks.
be like actually JP region, right?
that's true. JP is a monolith.
Yeah. It's different. It just NA. It's like JP and then the rest of the fucking world. That's what it feels like right now. All right.
Need more American people to join JP teams.
I mean, yeah,
Side eye.
yeah. Okay.
It's probably just the language barrier.
It is 100%. Yeah, that's what it is.
I've always wanted to like play at some point with like JP World Proggers, get like a bunch of us together with like people from NA and EU, and just see if we could figure stuff out. How would we would
Communicate.
communicate?
Communicate purely through auto translate.
I mean, we did. I mean, that's the life you lived if you ever played like Final Fantasy XI with JP players. You just used
it
auto
does not
translate.
work in
you,
Final Fantasy 14.
It's easy. All you have to do is learn Japanese. It's
you
not
would
hard.
you'd
Just
start
learn the
figuring
language.
I mean, you could.
It wouldn't work very well in 14 at first, but over time, people will realize, oh, when they use this term, which is a little weird in auto translate, this is what they mean, and then that would end up.
you
As
have to
time
get
went
rid
on,
of
you figure it out.
a lot of stigma stuff currently going on. There's
Oh, for sure.
I mean,
There's
yes,
there's
way
a
more
lot.
factors than just like the language
Yeah.
barrier, but
yeah,
I'm assuming that's not there.
yeah.
This has existed for a long time on Tomberry, though.
Oy.
Works normally okay.
Mm. All right. What else about the world race do we need to talk about, guys? That I didn't bring up that we feel like could be discussed.
let me look down at my list. Alright, so we talked about the fight.
Yeah.
Talked about.
Wait, you have a list? You've done more than I did. I have a
No, I don't have a
I have
list,
a
I'm
notepad
riffing.
that I put streaming as the bullet point, and that's all I got.
No, I'm just riffing. Right now, I'm actually just looking at a notepad sheet that has like my Yu-Gi-Oh deck list from like last week.
Okay. Fuck. You know, no. I was gonna ask you guys how you feel about, because you talked about Yu-Gi-Oh, how you guys feel about Astro right now, but I think everybody loves that Astro at the moment, right? It's definitely the go-to pick for healers. If changes don't drastically change things.
Still annoying to play, but
still rough. I hate
now
the 2
with
minutes.
the light speed.
I can't stand them still, even with just because I'm a bad player though. I mean, good players I'm sure have fun with it. But yeah, Astro is just the busyness of like the 2 minutes, and if you, I guess making use of the mitigation cards in that 1 minute, it's it's strange. I feel like those cards are like little tiny pillows or whatever in a pillow fight. They're just kind of, you just throw it out there and hope it does something. Almost like what's that fucking ability Sage has that no one uses? Or is it
like that 10% healing up one, right?
Yeah, on a single
It
target.
does nothing.
Yeah.
I don't even know what it's called. I just never use it
Crassus. Right?
Yeah, Crasus.
Crasus. Yeah. It's like it could be used maybe in extremely specific scenarios. But I feel like Astro gets too Crasus-like abilities every minute.
You'll find it useful in Savage, but you'll
so.
probably find it that type of stuff can be useful in a blind prog scenario.
Like Sinistry.
Yeah, like early on you can make use of it, but anything like that probably is a little less useful when everyone starts figuring things out, because at least with mitigation type stuff, unless it's raid wide, you're probably popping in on a tank, and when you're in farm, tanks have figured out all this stuff with invulns, and they like everybody knows what they're gonna do in order to figure stuff out. In prog, you usually don't have that figured out.
Yeah.
They're cooldowning everything, and when you actually cool down everything, and you're planning to cool down everything, like you haven't timelined it, and you're going fast, which means you want to keep something in the kitchen sink just in case. You're going to be taking a lot more damage per hit.
I mean, you're forced to use 2 within whatever that period of time is, right? That 1 minute. Like, you have to find in that exact minute where these 2 fit best within that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it works well, I think, for, like, mechanics where both tanks are taking stuff. Like, I found it pretty useful in X1 with the tank buster there. Alright, and there's a good moment to throw a mitigation card on each tank during those fire splits. But
yeah, that's a great usage of it. Hopefully they do more tank busters like that.
Yeah. Oh, I should ask you, it feels like they're having fun with it. How do you feel about the mechanics that throw you in the air?
Please stop.
Kind of annoying, actually.
I
Really
like being able
for 2
to
minutes.
push my buttons. I don't like it when I can't push my
I
buttons.
love having to optimize around forced downtime.
I love swift casting, the
same.
Picto drawing too. Very
Same.
cool.
I don't mind it. I think if you're expecting fights to be full uptime, you are.
I'm not saying
You're
full
not playing
uptime.
wrong.
I'm saying that I don't like being knocked up.
Oh.
Hmm.
Okay.
What is he saying?
I'm just
I mean,
saying
we're
this-
talking about game mechanics here, please. I don't.
I mean, have you
Alright.
seen
How you
Twitter?
wanna word
That is a game mechanic.
Yeah, it is a game mechanic. I don't know what you're talking about.
But
I
like,
don't- what's wrong? I don't like being knocked up.
I think what people generally
Okay.
enjoy more is when you have these mechanics that do have you do downtime, but there might be a way through being really smart at some point and potentially skillful of keeping that uptime, or you just have to play a really thin line. A lot of players like that type of stuff because that leads to skill expression.
I like broken 2 minutes where you have to like not use in certain places. You have to hold and things like that. I feel like it adds an interesting dynamic for pre-made groups. Party Finder, of course, it messes things up because they just want to go automatic through it. But whatever, that's Party Finder. It's whatever. I do feel like throwing out DPS puzzles is fun, like, and giving you forced like holds in fights. But I don't know.
No, I completely agree with you. I don't want another expansion of doing my dummy rotation on a boss for however long. The whole point of it is to do something different every fight, right?
I mean, and I like it when jobs are dynamic. Like if you have this job set, right? then you have to play a little bit differently because you have certain jobs in there for true optimization. And I'd like to see more emphasis in that and having actual, like, these 8 jobs are really strong and synergetic, and these other 8 jobs are synergetic as well, and having different... never mind. We're going into a whole nother, like, design show. But are you guys very... I guess a good thing to start wrapping up the show on is, like, are you guys feeling pretty confident and good with going into this race? Do you feel like there's a good chance you guys might win?
I mean, I have no expectations, but I think, like, it's been so long since we've raced that it's going to be fun no matter what.
I want you guys to say, no, we're going to fucking kick everybody's ass.
I mean,
I could use that as a clip
you're
later
out,
on.
right? All right, so I was trying to riff here, but I forgot something. Anyways, I think
you just that's fine. one of your tips at the joke would land one of these days.
It's alright, I believe. It's alright.
You already have it scripted.
It's not that I want to win, it's that I want Echo to lose. That's all.
Ooh.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Well, apparently Echo is running under NA, potentially, because they're 6 out of 8, and a certain someone told me NA will never get world first ever again. So I'm just saying right now.
It's true.
They might want to double think about that one.
You know, here's a really cool thing. I could just officially say they are not EU first, and just let the next team come up and be EU first.
All right, but, like, let's be real here.
Yeah.
How many people are gonna respect that? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, that's all right. Hope EU servers hold.
Don't we all? Hope NA
I'm just saying, like, Yoko lost his power the other day. I lost my power the other day. I think Sindal's internet went down yesterday. Can we please stop being targeted? Like, come on. Like, let's at least play fair.
Obvious.
How many
I
people...
lagged during the show and Frosty completely cut out for like 5 seconds.
Oh, but you didn't miss anything important, I'm sure. But that being said, how many... Did you guys actually hire your DDoS team? Target the EU servers?
No comment.
Okay. All right.
DDoS is like
that wouldn't work anyway. They all have NA alts.
That's true.
Well, it's a delay, right? What you do is you just go... you guys go to Oceanic and just start targeting NA after.
Sorry, EU doesn't actually have to target us because NA infrastructure just kind of targets itself.
Fair. I mean, which region was having more issues? I think EU has been having more issues overall.
I mean, I don't know about EU issues. I just know that I lost power for like 8 days, like a month ago.
That's a personal... Like, if you guys haven't invested in power generators, I don't think you guys are world racers.
No, you're saying that, but I, like, unironically, I own a generator now. You can't get me. If my power goes out, I'm still gonna be here.
What if a meteor hits your house?
If a meteor hits my house, then, you know, fuck.
It's a divine intervention.
That one, you know, it's like, you know, EU technology
big
has advanced.
afford meteors.
I'm just big esports.
All of our ancestors have survived a meteor. So I think we could do it too, right?
That's true. That's true.
We're only here because our ancestors
I mean, not wrong.
have survived a meteor. Look,
your
guys,
ancestors survived the Big Bang. Why can't you just, like, live through a meteor?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Sorry, I've been watching too much Game of Thrones, guys. Anyways, so I guess, yeah, that's pretty good. This has been a fun show. I appreciate you also giving me the time. I know you're all busy, like, mentally prepping for the world race and everything.
Yeah, we're about to go to bed.
Yeah.
It's actually true, I am.
This is actually really, like, this is unironically helping me stay awake.
I'm going to bed. I have
like, when I said I was only doing 2-hour naps for the past 3 days, that wasn't a bit.
Yeah, well.
Helped.
I'm glad I could assist, you know?
Damn.
I was going to get, you know, Echo on here and have you guys do like a Echo versus.
Wait,
that'd
be sick.
That could be fun.
Get him in here. Who's here? Come on,
no,
Remy.
they said no. They said
No,
no.
they said
turned
no?
it down. Yeah.
Wow.
These guys were
I
like,
see how it is.
we're gonna
guys
be busy.
Are scared.
They said we're gonna be busy. Did their motherfucking
Come on,
ass
this
in
is
chat.
like the wrestling tier. We're supposed to have like the fucking like, you know.
It's they don't respect us. That's all.
Yeah.
That's
you
the
guys
beef.
are resting. Guess who's resting too?
That's the beef. They don't respect us. I mean,
So-
they
Let's get
waited.
AG3 up in here.
What you guys need to do is like get world first, then go straight into the chat and just start talking shit like immediately. Start
True.
God, that would be awful. Please do not do that.
I do feel like this tier is going to be fun competitively, because there's a lot of factors to it. It's going to be a lot of fun to see. It's going to be a lot of fun to follow too. But yeah, I'm ready for it. I'm tired of the planning. I'm ready for the event to just happen and just whatever happens. Get it over with and then start talking about Eden
Shit
Ultimate.
talking on the Race the World seconds.
All right. Well,
You know,
Huh?
I am surprised about one thing.
sure.
You never asked what rat meant.
Oh, you're right. You know, but if I asked you guys like 1,000 times before the show, and you're like, I don't know. I mean,
We all had like rehearsed a different answer, so it's like honestly like a little disappointing.
all right. All of you guys have to say the answer. All right. I'm gonna ask you, and everybody has to say what it means at the exact same time. What does rat mean?
It's
We're
a
tired and
reference-
throwing.
Rhaegar and his team.
It's a reference to the Wild Thornberry's capybara scene.
Okay. I mean, it makes sense. Are you guys actually going to use that as your logo, the capybara?
Kind of do now. It's
Yeah.
pretty cute.
Yeah. You guys all have it for the mount?
No.
I think I need to do
Wait,
the
don't?
Fate one more time.
No, I don't. I've never done the Fate.
You guys
Yes,
didn't do
actually.
the Baron chat where you're just sitting there and everybody's just making dumb jokes about Skibidi Toilet and everything for the entire time?
5 more minutes.
I camped out at the Gilgamesh one for like 20 hours, and then the servers went down for emergency maintenance
Oh, so
at
reset.
like 95% of the like total cap. So I just got completely screwed over on getting that last one.
Sorry, it'll spawn in 5 more
Scammed.
minutes.
You know what I waited a little bit, but I went. All right, I'm gonna tell you my experience. I only got half the tokens I need. I've done it once, right? I waited for a good bit, and then I went in for an alliance roulette, and then as soon as I went in, someone told me it popped. I immediately left because it was near, and ran over there. I said, "Invite me." They invited me to the group. I hit the dude once, and I got a gold on it. So I just need to do that
Yes.
one more time.
It's true.
Just one more time, and then I'm set. All right. Well, guys, I guess we can go ahead and start wrapping up. I appreciate all of your time. It does mean a lot, you know, especially when Echo turned me down, you know, that I actually have you guys as friends. So,
I got you, Frosty.
yeah, thank you. Thank you for being there for me.
Just know that even if I do get like, you know, absorbed by a world like esports organization, I'll always make time for you.
Thank you, please, dude. That means a lot. You know, you were
Look
one of the
at-
people I was
see you
most
later.
excited to meet at FanFest, just FYI.
Aw.
Yeah. Well, you know.
Yeah, he said one of, not the.
Yeah,
don't
one
get
of,
too-
yeah, one of
Hey.
the, you know, 1,000
You know,
people I was excited to meet.
I take those, right? You know?
Yeah. All right. Well, do you guys have any closing words or anything that you want to put out there? Any kind of shout outs, any kind of stuff you want viewers to know before signing off and go in gremlin mode, I guess, for the world race?
Hmm.
We're happy to have Kindred Tank here.
Shout outs
yeah,
to
yeah.
Kara.
Oh,
Yeah,
shout
that's
out
extra
to,
life.
shout out to Prague Curry.
Yeah, shout out to Extra Life for sure. So, who? Prague Curry?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like curry that you eat for Prague.
or Prague.
Do you,
Just make a big
as
batch
long
of curry.
as you guys don't
for
have
Prague.
digestion issues with it.
You can also just put prog in the curry, but that's like a little bit, you know.
Just don't eat during prog, like me.
No, if I don't eat during prog, I'll pass
Eyes right eye.
Yeah,
Listen.
it's me or the boss.
If you don't eat or drink water, you never need to use the bathroom.
That's
That is
true.
the most efficient you could ever be.
Yeah, but you get a headache, dude. You'll start getting.
No, you're gonna
migraines
get a
stuff.
headache anyway from learning too much.
True. True.
Or if you don't sleep properly, that's where the real headache is.
Yeah.
Yo, I got a shout out to Adderall.
I mean, here's the thing, right? Like, you could just not eat or drink, or you could just have your bucket and bottle like everyone else.
Wait,
like everyone else.
real quick, do a rundown here. Prog food that you guys have planned, dietary situation that you're gonna have for the world race. Ash,
Probably some banh mi.
banh mi sandwiches.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. Sandwiches are easy.
Banh mi is kind of hard to just throw together, unless I guess you could buy it.
I can buy it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's a really good pick. You just have to make sure the place you go to is a place that has good health. Never mind. Cleese.
Adderall.
Yeah. Shout
No,
out to Big Pharma.
I just have sandwiches.
Just sandwiches. Just
They're,
not
you
banh mi
can eat them.
sandwiches.
You can eat them with the computer without much like effort, so you don't actually have to like take a break to eat.
Okay. Yeah. But I mean, to be fair, guys, you have to be careful wherever you order. That's the thing that I worry about the most is when I order food, is if I have to make sure that I'm not gonna have some sort of reaction to it.
Oh, that shit is pre-made. I am not ordering that.
Yeah, you don't eat anything new that you had not used to eating.
You have to make sure
at
you
Prague.
know. Yeah. All right, Reginald.
I have not many plans yet. I'll probably figure it out Monday or something.
I would figure it out. Sophia, bananas, Shin.
You answered for him.
I mean, you're not wrong, but I would have liked an opportunity to say it
Okay,
myself.
all right, Sophia. Anything besides
Yeah.
bananas?
Probably some trail mix.
Trail mix, okay.
Yeah, bananas are good. Other than that, I don't know. I'll have to figure it out.
Okay. Shin?
Sandwiches.
Basic
Pre-made.
sandwiches. All right, tell
Absolutely.
me what a sandwich is to you. Is it like mayonnaise on it, mustard? What's
It's a
on
hot dog sandwich.
It's gotta have iceberg lettuce.
it?
It's gotta
Okay.
have some sort of meat. Could be lunch meat or whatever.
Just whatever lunch meat.
Yeah.
Just general. You go to the store, it doesn't say
Whatever I feel
ham,
like,
it doesn't say
basically.
turkey, it says lunch meat.
No, I'm including it. It has like a whole branch of foods that I could pick.
Okay.
It could be salami. It could be bologna. It could be
Okay.
ham. Whatever.
All right. Send off.
Water, Adderall. If I do eat anything, it's probably gonna be like, I don't know, maybe some granola bars or just a turkey and cheese sandwich. I don't eat much during Prague.
Man, sandwiches is like the go-to. It seems like for most of you.
Especially like a savage, like you don't really want to take up like a long break to eat, right? So something
Yeah.
that you can eat like at the computer is like this.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can eat at the computer that doesn't take long besides a sandwich.
That's true, but sandwiches are the go-to.
Nobody wants to be the person to go AFK to make something. And nobody
Yeah.
wants to be the person to go to AFK to the bathroom. You
I
just
mean, you
do
just-
that when one person has to, everybody goes.
Yeah,
Same
meal
thing
prep.
with food.
Yeah, there's a lot of meal prepping you could do. Anyway, bye.
Probably the same ballpark.
Really?
Fruit is good. Nuts are good. I like almonds. Almonds are good. A big
Okay.
bag of almonds.
Okay.
Oh, I got a
About
bunch
it.
of those.
Coffee.
Coffee.
Coffee, good.
Coffee is good.
Yeah. I also always take like some Pepto in the morning, immediately.
Yeah. Isn't there like a strategy for you guys to not drink coffee for a certain amount of days, leading up to Prague, and then drinking it like when you start Prague?
That sounds like a
usually
horrible
do that.
idea.
Well,
But I
Have like a
mean,
bigger effect.
No, you can desensitize yourself to like reset your caffeine tolerance a little
Yeah.
bit, but it takes a really long time.
Yeah.
I know that it's like used in some other like high performance areas that people do that intentionally, but it's I've done it before, and like you just feel like shit for days to feel a little bit better on the day. So,
True.
yeah.
All right, Yuko.
You guys are crazy for doing coffee. I have to go pee when I drink coffee all the time. What the hell?
Anyway,
Anyway,
they do too. It's
Skill
just they don't
issue?
leave their seat when they do it, right?
You don't have.
Why
Do
does
you
that
not have your bottle?
Yeah.
Don't
didn't
you know
go
what
buy a
RAD
bunch?
stands for? Hello?
Okay.
We talked about this.
I'm gonna do some S&B golden curry,
Okay.
and gonna have very basic ingredients in it, so it's nothing too special. Over some rice,
Okay.
and just
Do you do
heat
white
that
rice
up.
or brown rice?
I do white rice.
Okay. True.
And heat that up before the race starts, and just eat a good serving. It'll last me the entire day.
Okay. That works. All right. I feel like that's a good one to end on. We can go ahead and start wrapping up, unless if there's anything else you guys want to say. I am going to be, by the way, if you're wondering what I'm going to eat, it's straight up beef jerky and energy drinks.
It's
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean,
Yeah.
beef jerky is amazing, but energy drinks pass.
energy drinks are scary.
I've never had one. I don't
It
want one.
depends. And Mountain Dew, of course.
And Mountain Dew, of course, yes.
Yes.
Mountain Dew is classified as an energy drink in the EU, I think. At least
Is
some
it?
of them.
Well, fair
Maybe.
enough. Yeah. I got them, dude. They're over here. Don't worry.
Oh,
You
sorry.
can't see it.
Sorry, can we restart? Klops just got here.
Klops?
Yeah, he's in chat. He just got here. Can we restart?
Oh,
Yo,
fuck
give
that
him a
guy. The dude came up and he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna help you with your event. You know what? This time I'm sitting out. I wanna do some of the stuff with the event." And then I'm like, "Hey, dude, I got some stuff you could help out with." He's like, "Hey, man, I'm just gonna let you know I got a group." This little, this little ale. Every time he's like, "I'm retired. I want to, Frosty, let's do some World Race stuff, dude. I'll come over there. We all sit on a couch. We'll do some stuff.
No.
Whatever." Every time.
Anybody who says they're retired is fucking lying.
He lies
true.
every time. It is a common occurrence. Arthur does almost the same thing every time, but he's actually going to be casting this time. So,
If you want to make sure that you can hear when we shit talk you, make sure you sub so you don't get ad breaks.
yeah, Jesus Christ. If you guys want to sub so you can like see the show, that supports the World Race and it supports everything that we do here with MogTalk and everything else. If you don't want to sub, that's perfectly fine. Thank you for taking the hit with the ad revenue. I appreciate it, right? Because that supports the World Race as well. Seriously, watching ads supports the World Race. So thank you. Or literally having Turbo supports the World Race. If you didn't know. So there you go. I'm glad we could end this off shit talking.
At least we shit talk someone, right?
Yeah. I feel like that's a good way to wrap up the show. All right, well, guys, again, you've been awesome for being on here. Thank you so much for giving me your time. Thank you, everybody, for watching the show. I hope you all enjoy the event. I know we're going to have one of the most interesting world races because we have formerly Neverland. I don't know if they're still currently Neverland or if they're just Echo now or what all, it's like Echo parentheses Neverland. For the actual streamed event they're doing, Echo's putting on their own thing. They have their own casters and everything else. And we're doing a couple things to work together with the MogTalk World Race event, and then we're kind of two separate things, right? Echo is their team, right? And they're following their team. They're participating in the World Race. MogTalk is covering the entirety of the World Race and giving out rewards to anyone who doesn't have an esports team behind them. I guess that's the definition, right? And so if you guys want to do that, you haven't signed up and you're doing World Race stuff, feel free to sign up, and the top 3 teams will get a decent amount of rewards. And also watching the event, you'll get codes in chat donating to charity for Extra Life, which does wonderful work. I went out to their hospital not too long ago and went through and saw a lot of stuff that they did. They gave me a tour of so many amazing things, and Extra Life, we're going to be supporting them for a long time. They have won me over completely. So if you donate to them, there's a ton of stuff that we're going to be giving away for everybody who's helping support that cause too. So that's it. I'm gonna wrap up, and maybe I'll upload this show before the World Race starts. I don't know. Jesus Christ, it has been hectic. I am backlogged right now, and I got a lot of uploads I need to do. So look forward to that. But you guys have an exclusive show until then, until I get it uploaded.
Exclusive?
Exclusive, yeah.
Exclusive.
Bring back Cleese.gg or whatever, Cleese Guides.
Cleese.gg.
Yeah.
Isn't it still there?
It's Cleese.me, but
Update it.
They're still there.
You know, I don't know.
Still waiting for the T guide, honestly.
Still waiting for
so I can finally clear.
What's the top guide that has a better Delta strat?
To be fair, I did actually draft the top guide, but I never finished it.
I feel you, dude.
Bro, I am no longer a college student. I actually have to like work and shit. It's fucked up.
It's rough, dude. Yeah.
2018 was a nicer time.
Oh. All right, we're ending the show. All right, guys, thank you all for watching. We're gonna do a host here in just a second, and then yeah. See you all for the World Race. The stream won't be alive until we do the World Race. We'll start about 6 hours before the servers come up. We have a couple of talks that we're going to do, and also a DJ set, of course, right before. And then we'll start up on the race. You guys all be good until then. And I guess stay frosty. I don't know. Everybody say bye!
Bye!
Bye!